Oh, hey, we're back. We are back. What is up? JV Wins and Dogon SS once again. Another edition of the Conscious Approach channel for some flavor in your ear. Major shouts out to everybody who is tuning in, checking us out as we continue to crank out this logical content. As always, disclaimer, first and foremost, want to say, if you are not aware, we are now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. For anyone who is not in position to check out any of our videos, you can now listen to us in podcast form. We are now also on TikTok, so check us out over on TikTok at ConApproach, ConApproach, the same as the Instagram page. You can engage with our content over there. We are uploading all of our videos in those areas as well. If you fancy yourself somebody who peruses TikTok more often than YouTube or any of these other platforms in which we maintain a presence. So yeah, man, do want to say for everybody out there who has been subscribing to the channel, thank you very much. We certainly appreciate it. You do not have to make the effort to click that subscribe button. I certainly don't take it for granted as someone who does not subscribe to any and everything. I am very selective with what I subscribe to because there is value in my digital currency. And so for anybody who decides to spend digital currency on us, it does not go unnoticed. We sincerely appreciate it, and we couldn't thank you enough for that. And for anybody who happens to catch wind of what we like to do here on this channel for the first time, this is how we like to kick it. So if you appreciate the content, or if you don't appreciate it and want to let us know about it, hit the subscribe button while you're in the process of doing so. And otherwise, hit that like button, leave a comment, let us know what you think about the commentary in any of our content as we continue to crank this stuff out. Get rocking and rolling. We appreciate you. Thank you very much for joining our tribe. Thank you very much for expressing how you feel about any of the pieces of content that we publish, because we, of course, do not care if you agree with us or not. So long as what you have to add to the conversation is constructive, that is all that matters. We are not creating a cult. We do not need a bunch of group thinkers and people who agree with us. We actually prefer that people dissent, just as long as it's in a productive way. Now, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off. Several interesting topics to talk about on tonight's episode. First things that we are going to discuss is a friend of the channel, Amber Rose. Friend of the channel. We've mentioned Amber Rose here several times at this point, so I think Amber Rose qualifies as a friend of the channel. Once again, some of these repeated public people that we use for content on this channel, we are not doing it to cherry pick off of their name. We do it to talk about the pathology inherent in a lot of their remarks, because we can peel some of this stuff away to have larger conversations about what's going on. But Amber Rose, who is a friend of the channel, is not taking anything back after the internet went at her for claiming that she is an African queen. So for anybody who does not know, Amber Rose was a part of a photo shoot with another celebrity reality show type chick, this Natalie Nunn woman, and Amber Rose captioned two African queens. And people clapped back at her, wondering how she could be so bold as to proclaim herself to be an African queen. And when somebody caught up with her, she doubled down, saying, "I take nothing back. Anybody can claim to be an African queen because all humans descend from Africa," is her rationale. So she takes nothing back, and she wants everybody to know that they can kiss her ass, because she stands firmly 10 toes down on her assertion that she is an African queen. So this says Amber Rose stands by controversial African queen label. Amber Rose is certainly no stranger to speaking her mind, despite whatever haters may have to say about it. She did just that late last month when she posed for a fake Vogue South Africa shoot alongside Natalie Nunn. She shared the photo on Instagram with the caption "African Queens," adding white queen and mixed queen emojis. Many social media users took issue with the caption, likely due to comments she's made in the past about racial identity. A paparazzi caught up with her yesterday, which was on May 9th, and asked what she has to say to those who weren't happy about the label. Kiss my bleep, she declared, as seen in a clip shared by the Shade Room. Amber went on to explain that all humans' roots trace back to Africa, regardless of skin color. We all come from the motherland. When asked to confirm that she thinks white people are in the clear to call themselves African queens, she didn't hesitate. 100%, because we all come from Africa, babe. So that pretty much sums up what we have going on here. That's the meat of this particular story. So here is Amber Rose uh, in the flesh defending her claims of being an African queen.
What do you say to people that didn't like that you called yourself an African queen?
Kiss my.
Yes. How come?
We're all African queens.
Yeah.
We all come from Africa. All the Homo sapiens in the world come from Africa. So.
Yeah.
Are you a Homo sapien?
I'm just asking.
Are you a Homo sapien?
Only partially.
So we're all African queens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even white people can call themselves African queens?
100%.
Why?
Because we all come from Africa, babe.
The
people need to get out of their feelings.
Is it a little bit insensitive
No, it's not.
or offensive?
No, it's not. Because people in Africa love me.
Mm-hmm.
I've been over there. They don't talk about race like they do over here in America.
What?
If you're a good person over there, that's all they care about. I mean, to the places that I've been.
Yeah.
I can't speak for every country in Africa, but everywhere I've been, as soon as you get off the airplane, they say welcome home. And I think that's a beautiful thing because it's the motherland and that's where we all stem from. So
yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
All right. So yeah, man, that's how she feels about that. So she takes nothing back. We all come from Africa, so a white person can say that they're an African queen and all of that good stuff because we all come from the motherland, babe. So, do you agree with her? Does any of that make sense?
There's logic where that makes sense. It's everything, comes from the motherland. We all know that. So yeah, technically, she's technically correct. So, people run around being technically correct about things. I don't know how life goes for you. I guess it works in some scenarios, but definitely not all. So she wants to live a technical lifestyle and have this technical stance, then fine, so be it, man. But I don't take any offense to it. I don't get offended by it. You don't have to, in order to be considered African, you just got to be from Africa. And so there's plenty of people that don't look like the traditional African that are African people because they're from Africa.
Right.
So you can run around and say that you're an African queen so long as you have ties and roots to Africa. On the let's say on the surface of things, that is, because she's being technical about complete ancestry. I'm just talking about regionality and stuff like that. So all in all, I feel like this is a game of semantics here. I'm not really pressed about it. If she wants to go around and say that, so be it. I feel like there's other things that she could have done or said that would be deemed offensive. But in situations like this, whenever people want to holler about they're being appropriated or they're getting offended by it, me personally, I just look at it as a term of flattery. Because it's more flattering that there's people that want to be like you than, they don't want to be nothing like you at all. So, I take that as a form of flattery, and I don't get offended by situations like this. But the internet, they're going to internet, and people like Amber Rose are going to answer how she answered. But what are your thoughts, man, on Amber Rose running around here calling herself an African queen?
Yeah, she is being technical, so technically she's not wrong. Shouts out to Mr. Clark ninth grade social studies. Hey, I remember
Yeah.
one of the only things I remember learning from ninth grade social studies was Australopithecus, which was like the Australopithecus or Australopithecus, however you pronounced it, is like the earliest known human fossil to ever be discovered, which was, of course, discovered in Africa, which at the time, I don't know if there's been an update to the science that makes this no longer a fact, but back then at the time, that was sort of, categorical proof that, human beings as a species of animal originated on the continent of Africa. Thus, all people, humans, in some way, shape, or form, have an origination that is rooted in Africa. So technically, she is not wrong. But obviously, as what you said is correct. You can be a person who's from Africa. Therefore, you can be an African queen. But that only makes sense if you're saying that in Africa. When you are in America and you say that, it reads wrong because you're not taking into account the aspect of socialization inherent in those comments,
Correct.
which is, of course, what people are going to get bent out of shape over. It's like when the pop star that we discussed not too long ago, that I guess she's pretty popular nowadays, who's actually from Africa. I think she's South African.
Oh yeah. I forgot her name already.
Tyler.
Yeah.
And she said, "Hey, I acknowledge my Africanism, but I also acknowledge my blackness," or it was something to that effect. Whatever the remarks that she made, and people over here in America took it as a slight because they felt as though she was distancing herself away from being culturally black by saying, "I'm African, but I'm not black," or whatever it was that she said. And technically, she wasn't incorrect. And the point that I was trying to make at the time was everybody is entitled to identify based upon what their true ancestry is if you put in the effort to discover what that is. So if she knows what that is, there's nothing wrong with her identifying as such. Even in America, where people tend to get bent out of shape if you don't wholly declare, I'm African American, because people just want you to be so down for the cause. Any deviation from that, people are going to interpret it as you're trying to distance yourself from us, which means you're against us, which of course is not the case. Culture is a nuanced thing. Everyone has the right to identify in the manner in which they can discover their ancestry. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. My point in saying all of that is, here in America, there is an aspect of socialization that goes along with how you identify yourself. And so for Amber Rose to make the claim that she's an African queen, despite her nationality not in fact being African, is going to draw ire from people, even though she's technically correct. So it is what it is. Like you, I'm not offended by it. I don't care. She can do whatever she wants. Obviously, I have bigger fish to fry. But what always fascinates me is when folks online get bent out of shape about this stuff. Because it's like, what difference does it make to you whether Amber Rose talks this way or not? Because trust and believe, if she says the wrong thing, people on this side are going to take every opportunity to distance themselves from her, proclaiming that she's not this or that or whatever it is that she might be in terms of the kind of blood that she has running through her veins. So everybody tries to cherry pick when convenient who to latch on to and who to distance themselves from when it comes to identity and race and all of that kind of stuff, or nationality. The only thing I would say that she's guilty of, if I'm going to go so far as to use language that strong, is that making comments like that shows that she don't read the room, or rather she doesn't care about reading the room, and doesn't even realize how there's a social impact that goes along with identifying oneself as a quote unquote African queen. But that goes without saying for anybody who tries to pull any kind of stunt like that, because everybody just wants to be able to identify with something, even if it is for social media attention.
Yeah, man. This whole thing that's going on right now with because there's a thing on TikTok right now. This lady, she came out and she was like, all redheads are black people. and it started this very interesting conversation where, you know, redhead people were coming out and saying how they were being fetishized.
I've heard that.
People want to come and touch their hair and all this other stuff. Things that Black people said that they experience.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and people was like, oh, I don't know where that came from, you know. And so that woman bringing that up, it kind of alludes to this whole notion that there's somebody Black in your lineage. And whenever the person has the red hair, that's like an appearance of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I brought that up to say is that, you know, there's people on both sides of it. You know, there's people that's like, you know, they're white people, they're this, they're that. And it's like, well, yeah, you know, they are, you know, at least what people call white people. Again, you got to deal with these labels and social constructs here. And so, yes, there's white people running around with African in their blood. I mean, it's literally their blood, because they wouldn't be here if there wasn't a woman from Africa. You know what I'm saying? So everybody has it in them. So yeah, technically, you know, so yeah, if the technical police, you know, they'll just go around and say any damn thing, honestly, because anything is technically true. so you know, so I get what you're saying, man. She should read the room better here or whatever. But I think this also just ties into a thing where, for me, it's pretty big, is that you shouldn't let stuff like this. I said it in the first time, but when people, there's bigger fish to fry, like you said, in your life, period, than to be worried about these social constructs and labels and all this other stuff, man. So yeah, when these things pop up, they should serve as a reminder. If you get a little, hey, I was offended by that in your blood, you got to remind yourself that the reason why you're feeling that way is due to socialization, a large part of it. And so, yeah, man, every white person that's walking around here technically got African in their blood. You know, that's not a surprise. And so, yeah, if you know that we're the cradle of humanity, Black women have the Eve gene, you know, if you know all these things, why you get offended when somebody's mad they not you? So, hey, man, be proud of who you are. And then when people want to come around and try to use offensive language or whatever the hell, the pride in yourself, it should really roll off your back. I mean, honestly, bro, it's a gnat to a hippo. So let these people do what they do, and do your thing. So yeah, man, I'm not pressed by this. Amber Rose is, I mean, she's a troll. So that has been her whole career. So the more she does this, the more she gets booked for things or whatever. You know, she might appear in a new reality show because she's getting on everybody's damn nerves again. So, hey, man, this is a business model for her. All the more reason for you not to give a damn.
Yeah. Or whatever is a great way to that part, the or whatever part.
Yeah, man.
Or, you know, and I mean, speaking on socialization, you know, and this is a topic, this is a point that I've made a couple times now. Whenever we have discussions like this, most people, especially in the West, will live their entire lives without doing their due diligence to discover as much of their original ancestry as possible. Everybody who was born in this country has an ancestry from somewhere else. Now, the question is whether people are going to care enough to invest the time and the resources and the money into discovering what that ancestry is. But for those individuals who do put forth the effort to do that, I don't besmirch a person who, you know, let's say one of us, for example, you know, I put in the money and the time and the research, and I discover that I have a lineage that goes to some, you know, remote tribe that comes out of the Congo or something like that, right? And so I decided to go there and kind of learn about that and get educated on what it means. And I bring some of those customs and culture back, and I choose to identify as such. And I decided that I'm posting online now. Here I am, this infidel from America who is now posting about how I am now a part of this tribe, even though I'm an American. Now, some people over there who catch wind of me doing this might feel some type of way, because they might look at it and say, how dare you try to appropriate our history or our culture or our civilization? And the way that I see it is, I did my due diligence to learn the history of my original ancestry, and I kind of just feel like I want to take a piece of that for myself, to be a part of that. And this is not to defend Amber Rose necessarily, because I'm not defending her. I'm just trying to make a point overall that anyone who were to commit to that due diligence to discover what their true origins are, and would like to identify as such as much as possible within reason, I don't necessarily think that it is reasonable for someone else to try to take that away from them. And I think that people who get bent out of shape by comments like this are getting bent out of shape because they, like most people, don't have an original ancestry of their own, or rather they don't have the knowledge of it. So, from most of our vantage points here in this country, all we know is American culture. And that's kind of what we've identified with historically, not whatever our original ancestry may be. So we don't have anything else to piggyback off of and say, well, okay, cool, you call yourself an African queen. Well, I'm a queen from wherever tribe or from wherever country. You know what I'm saying? And so I think if most people at some point in life found the time to put forth the effort to discover their own unique original ancestry, then I think those same people would probably be less inclined to get bent out of shape by someone else doing the same thing. And again, I'm not saying that's what Amber Rose was doing. I'm using her as an example because I agree, like you, I think she was kind of trolling with this. I don't think she knows she might, for all I know, but she hasn't publicly commented, to the best of my knowledge, on what her original ancestry is. And if she has, that would make calling herself an African queen even more of an offense, I would imagine. But I'm assuming she's never done that. And so she can just flippantly walk around doing stuff like this. And I think the response from others who feel some type of way about that would be a little bit lessened if more of us put forth the effort to discover what our original ancestry is. I just think most of us don't put forth the effort to do that. We live through life basically accepting that we are, Black Americans, and we cling to it and hold on to it. And we hold on to this ubiquitous, ambiguous term African, hyphenated with American, even though we don't really know what that means. We just know that we fill in the bubble for it whenever we need to identify ourselves. And then we just call it a day and move on with the rest of our lives. Maybe we wouldn't care so much if we had a unique original ancestry that we can identify with in our own right, so that we care less about someone else doing the same thing.
Yeah, dog, 1,000, man. So, we'll see how the community treats Amber Rose after this. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be business as usual. She offends everybody at some point, so it was just your turn. So buckle up, guys. But what do y'all think down in the comment section? Do you feel as though the internet was onto something here by criticizing Amber Rose for calling herself an African queen when she clearly doesn't look the part? Let's say that. Let us know down in the comment section, everybody.
Yeah, these racially ambiguous people, man, they just
I didn't even know her story. I had to look it up, man. It said her mom's from Cape Verde, something like that. So she's from somewhere in Africa. Her mama is.
Right.
So she's got African in her system, so she can be an African queen, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So, at the end of the day, why get bent out of shape about it? Figure out what it is that you can call yourself, so that we can all just be uniquely able to say, well, I'm this and she's that. But who cares? She is what she is, and if she has the ground to stand on to identify that way. Is whatever you might think about her as a human or as an individual or as a person, it is what it is, man. I think more of us need to put forth that effort to figure out who we all are instead of just, allowing ourselves to go by these weirdo census designations that we've accepted.
Yeah, man. And another thing too, like a reason why you shouldn't be offended by that. There's people running around here calling themselves a god and running around on stage, clapping booty cheeks or unaliving people, and they run around saying that they're a god. But then it's like, okay, you can be, but a god of what? So the same thing with Amber Rose here, when she talking about herself, she's a queen, because there's queens out there on poles clapping it up. So she can call herself a queen, but a queen of what? Let's not get offended, guys. It could be the queen, the African queen of feces.
You're right.
So, you know what I'm saying? Don't get bent out of shape about this, guys.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, she was in fact at one point in her life a queen of the pole. So,
queen of being a floor,
right?
According to her,
right.
So let her have it, y'all.
Hey man, look, shouts out to Amber Rose, another modern day internet troll, an individual who has a career off of nothing, which is remarkable. Only in America, man. That will never cease to amaze me, the way that people can curate a career off of doing nothing. And she was one of those people who was able to do that. So only in America, man. What are you going to do?
Truly one of the most ridiculous periods in human history. We're living it right now. I don't think it was any more ridiculous than what it is right now.
Oh, what do we got here? So this is an interesting story I found. So the guy that you see there on the overlay, this individual is a top tier professional video gamer. He's a world-renowned video gamer. He's a professional Street Fighter gamer. He competes in all of these esports championship, things that get put on, and he particularly specializes in Street Fighter. He's like one of the top Street Fighter players in the world. But what came out of this is the fact that he never really took education seriously. He never did schoolwork, like he never did homework. He never took school and formal education seriously. And what's more interesting about this is that decision was sanctioned by his own father, who was behind him not doing school. His pops encouraged him to not do homework and to not care about school and to focus on doing whatever it is that you're going to do to get yourself put on. So yeah, he talks about how his pops basically was like, hey man, if you don't care about school, don't do it, because maybe you're going to be able to do something else. So this says top Street Fighter player says his dad told him to ignore school. I never did homework.
Wow.
One of America's top Street Fighter players, NoahTheProdigy, credits his success to his father, Moises Solis, telling a young Noah that he didn't have to do his schoolwork. The gamer opened up about his dad's unique parenting strategy in a recent interview. I didn't do schoolwork growing up. I never did homework. My dad told me F school. I pull out homework and my dad would ask me what I want to do in life. I was like, I want to be a firefighter. And he was like, be realistic. Don't you want to have fans? Don't you want to be a superstar?
What the hell?
NoahTheProdigy recounted that he eventually admitted to Solis his desire to be a video game pro. His father, unsurprisingly, was supportive. He said, all right, so F school, screw school. We're not going to do no schoolwork. Throw it away. NoahTheProdigy has been a top gamer since his age was still in the single digits. When he was just 8 years old, he finished in the top 48 at EVO 2011 in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Since then, he's established himself as one of the best Street Fighter players in the country and has won more than $50,000 because of his skills. I would think he would have made more than that, but
right.
In 2011, Solis admitted that in order to pay for a tournament entry for Noah the Prodigy, he had to sell the rims on his car. The way the economy is, I lost my job, but I had a nice set of rims on the car. So I sold my rims and said, let's go. Let's see what he's got. In that long ago interview, he also opened up about why he supports his son so much. If you look out your window, the things kids are doing nowadays, I have options here in my home. There's reading, there's math, there's gaming. I can either let him go outside, smoke pot, run around with gang members. If this is what he wants to do, this is what I'll support him in. So here is Mr. Noah the Prodigy talking about how he was able to ignore going to school. Might want to blow this up. Yeah, here we go.
But I mean, I didn't do schoolwork growing up. Like I never did homework. Like my dad told me like F school, like watch Tokido and Mago. Like I never did homework.
I was like, which maths do you remember?
Like God's Garden. Like my dad would always I'd pull out homework, like to do homework, schoolwork, because my dad asked me what I want to do in life. And I said, like, I wanted to be a firefighter. And he's like, be realistic. Like, don't you want to like have fans and stuff? Like, don't you want to be a superstar? And then I was like, I want to be a pro Street Fighter player. I want to be like them. And then he said, all right, so F school, screw school. We're not going to do no schoolwork. Throw it away and put on God's Garden. And that's how I got good at Street Fighter.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to guess here, and this is just me guessing, that that's not exactly what his pop said.
I don't know, man.
Well, not particularly the part where he's like, "Don't you want to have fans and be a superstar?"
I think that's his dad. And listen, go ahead.
I'm just saying that's the only part of that sounds weird to me. Maybe he did say that, but it just sounds weird.
Well, if he told him he ain't got to do homework ever, like at the age of 9 or whatever he said he was,
then maybe he would say something like that.
That's not far-fetched, bro. It's really not.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, what do you think about that? What do you think about this Noah the Prodigy and his dad basically telling him before he was even 10 years old, F school and throw it in the trash?
Well, listen, man. Even as I'm heavily against the modern system of education. I think it's trash. I think it's wasteful. I think honestly, you're better off teaching your own kids. The capacity of children is astonishing. And so we're limiting and stunting their growth by the way that the current education system is working, which honestly has been the same since, they introduced the system here. And so there's no evolution in it. There's no real learning. Kids are more disconnected than ever to school. I mean, I started catching senioritis probably around 8th grade. Hey man, and I've known people now the kids are catching it in elementary school.
Yeah.
So school is not very interesting. It doesn't really do much. So I understand the perspective where his father's coming from, because people was like, hey man, F going to college. That's what the thing is now to say. That's the trendy in thing to say. But to quit elementary school, that's pretty aggressive. So if you're choosing to do that because of the reasons that I said, what you think about the school system, then hey man, just make sure the guy still gets some level of learning. But honestly, man, I just think that this kid's entire world, socialization wise, learning things wise, has been through gaming online and being in gamer communities. And I don't know how social or how much, interaction he's gotten with warm-blooded people because there was just no detaching him from that dopamine box. Now, granted, you can flip it into a career nowadays, which is understandable, but they dropped $50K in that article like that's a flex. Like you said, bro, I hope he's making more than that.
Yeah, maybe they left a zero off of that or something.
They better have. Because hey, listen, bro. All right. I mean, yeah, you're better off doing that, I guess, than working at someplace, some dead end place. But at the same time, I don't know how many is that cumulative? They didn't say annually.
They didn't say. They said he has made that. I'm wondering, like, okay, for one tournament, did he make that for one tournament? That can't be what he has made in totality. It can't be.
I would assume bro's a baller like that.
Yeah.
So so I'll stick with what the article says, but I'll just for giggles, I'll entertain the fact that he's breaking in the dough heavily. What we're witnessing right now with all of these allegations going around of all these top tier people, quote unquote top tier, you'll still see that with all of their money and notoriety that, well, they're still socially awkward.
Correct. Yeah.
And due to their social awkwardness, they get into trouble because they try to pay to make it go away. And you can't throw money at something like that. So hopefully this young man lives a life that is social outside of the gamer community, so he can actually enjoy his life. But if his life is just that box, I get it. Is trust me, playing video games all day versus going to school, I'm not against that. The young me that is.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, man, hopefully it was an equivalent exchange, that you didn't sacrifice brain cells, not from missing school, but from missing those levels of socialization and getting out of your room and getting out of that chair.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on that, man. But what are your thoughts, man, on this prodigy kid not doing homework? So basically quitting school at a very young age. What are your thoughts, bro?
I think that is an age that's a bit too young for. Now, let me preface my comments by saying I agree with you. I think formal education is a joke. Well, more specifically, I think public school education is a joke.
Absolutely.
It is extremely antiquated. Hell, it was antiquated when we were in school, and this is now 20 years ago. So not much. Not much has changed since then. There have been a few, enhancements made since our days coming up, going to grade school, but for the most part, the foundational structure of it remains in place. If you're not chartering or doing private, you are potentially stunting the growth of your child by funneling them into the public school system, which I believe fast tracks all children on the road to eventual employment and modern day enslavement, more than anything else, in my personal opinion. So like you, I do think that it is extremely antiquated, outdated. It is in need of an extreme overhaul. Shouts out to my current employer, who is actively lobbying in various districts and states throughout this country to make financial literacy a requirement at the high school level, which I think would be a tremendous move. Financial literacy, learning about investments, learning about credit, learning about building and saving credit, learning about what your credit score actually means, the value of investing in things like annuities and life insurance, even things like the stock market, stuff that I literally didn't learn until I was in my late 30s, that would have served me tremendously had I learned them at 15, 16, 17 years old. That is the kind of stuff that ought to be a requirement in the grade school level, but it thus far has not been. And I think that is entirely intentional. But there are efforts being made to make some of those things more of a requirement and a part of like school curriculums. And it's very much so needed. And until that happens, I will always believe that the modern day educational system is a joke and is entirely outdated. In so much to say that I think that if this guy's father, I do believe he had the right idea. I don't know that I would have played my hand like that early in my kid's life.
It's a little aggressive.
Yeah, 9 years old, 8 years old seems a bit too soon. But I agree with the sentiment And I firmly believe that, especially in this day and age, it is more important than ever for a parent or a caregiver to be actively involved with being a part of their child's self-discovery. So, I'm a firm believer, and this is just my personal belief, but I am a firm believer that every human on this planet is born with an innate gift. I believe that. What separates people, what separates most successful people from most people who aren't is self-discovery. Most people go their entire lives without even discovering what their innate gift is. And the tragedy of that is there's an opportunity for everyone to discover what that innate gift is. And there's a disconnect that occurs during delicate stages of mental development, in my opinion, where a child shows signs of what their innate gift is, but because no one's paying attention, no one tries to figure out creative ways to leverage it. And I think that's what most parents and caregivers do. We basically ship our kids off to school. We don't really give it a second thought, and we hope that they'll figure it out for themselves. Well, as you can see by the current capitalistic economy in this country, where only 10% of the population earns more than $100,000 a year, most people don't discover that. And and of amongst the percentage who do discover that, what's the percentage of those who are able to adequately leverage it in order to be successful? The number drops even beyond that. So this kid had an innate gift apparently for video gaming. As weird as it sounds, I'm behind his pop saying, okay, you're 17, you're 18 years old. What do you want to do, bro? You're really good at this video game stuff. I've been watching. You're kind of good at this. Maybe we can make something out of this, because what are the options that we have? I'm assuming that they're low socioeconomic, that they, kind of are working class, middle class. That's what the assumption that I'm making. So he doesn't really sound like he's the most astute in terms of school. So he probably had average grades, I'm guessing. Probably aren't qualifying for those scholarships where you get 100% tuition. You probably aren't getting those grants. So if you do decide to pursue higher education, someone's going to have to pay for that. And if we're working class, we're probably not going to be able to foot that bill entirely. So now what are we looking at? Student loan debt and all of this other rigmarole that this country funnels you into, further exacerbating the modern day slavery system. So if that's the alternative, I'm 100% behind this kid's pop saying, let's try this video gaming thing out and see what happens. Because maybe he realized that's his innate gift. And so, that's pretty much my 2 cents on that. I think he did it a little early. That's a bit too aggressive for me. I still think that there's some value in going to school and learning certain basic fundamental skills, the whole reading, writing, arithmetic stuff. And like you, I do think that developing adequate social skills is an extremely important part of a human's natural development that you cannot take for granted. It's extremely important. Social skills are extremely important. So you also don't want to sacrifice or compromise your child's opportunity to naturally develop those very important skills. But at the same time, I'd be remiss if I didn't divulge my belief that it is a very important aspect of any parent or caregiver to be. You don't have to be a helicopter parent. You don't want to be a helicopter parent, somebody who's hovering over your kid and constantly dictating what they do, where they go, how they think, who they make friends with. So, of course, you don't want to be a helicopter parent, but you also want to strike a delicate balance of being there to just be observant and just notice subtle things with your kid that you can sort of catch, like, I think that might be one of these things that my kid is naturally talented at, naturally gifted at. And you just continue to monitor it. And maybe you can figure out ways to steer your kid in a direction of figuring out how to leverage that. You know what I'm saying? Like, get them in some programs, get them into some sort of extracurricular stuff, right? Maybe if you have the discretionary income, you can hire somebody who's good at this stuff to teach them on the side, stuff like that. I feel like parents don't do a good enough job of that. They kind of just funnel them into the slavery system and hope for the best, hope they figure it out. And statistics show that does not work. They don't. Like you're fast tracking your kid to a pathway of 50, 60, $70,000 a year annually, and you really can't live abundantly and do what you want to do in life, perpetually in debt. And that's obviously, you speak to how this country is run off of the middle class, which is consumerism, which is what they want. They want to keep you broke, keep you buying everything, but not able to actually squirrel anything away, save anything away, or outright own anything. So I hear all of that, and I don't think the traditional model is working. And I do think that these caregivers, I'm not saying, make your kid stop doing homework at 9 years old, but my overall point is whether he was 9 or whether he was 19, if you're with him in the house every day, you're probably observing at some point, if you're even remotely involved in his life as a parent, that he's pretty good at this. So instead of shunning him away from it and forcing him to get off of it and throwing him in school because you think that he's killing himself by playing video games all day, maybe look more into it, because maybe he's gifted enough at it that you can parlay it into something that can allow his future to be a little brighter than it would be otherwise. So, that's pretty much my takeaway from that whole thing. I hear you on everything that you said about the social skills, though. You can't forsake that. That is something that you have to maintain as a priority. Don't let the boy or the girl, whatever the gender of the kid is, don't let them sit in front of the box all day, every day, and not socialize with other kids and other humans, because that's just as detrimental as them being an idiot who can't read or write. You have to strike a balance between both. But I do think overall that we do a very poor job of being there with these kids to try and identify what their innate gift is, to perhaps leverage it so that more of these people can be free instead of being out here slaving for a living.
Yeah, 1,000, man. But again, man, when most people actually believe in that system and they don't think anything outside of it, because they literally, while they're in the rat race, they're literally thinking about the next race tomorrow. And nothing pops in their brain to go, why are we even running in the first place? So when their thing is the next race is tomorrow, they raise their kids the same way of, hey, man, the next race is tomorrow. Don't you forget, And so, yeah, man, I think for a lot of the ways that people were manipulated into working in this type of system is slowly but surely wearing off. But it had a pretty strong effect on people, some generations ago. And those things were getting passed down, man. Our generation was sold the college lie. Even though we knew something was sketchy about it way before we went, we heard enough smoke, but we was actually in the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while we were there, we was like, oh, man, this is, because, man, after I graduated, man, I was like, bet, bro, I got this piece of paper. There's no stopping me now. Boy, was I wrong. I was finding jobs easier while I was a college student than when I actually had a degree. It was backwards. Now, granted, I was able to leverage that later on in my life, but the first few years, man, it wasn't sweet. And even to this day, right now, man, it's like, hey, man, now the way that the world is moving, my degree is outdated. So I say all that stuff to say is that, like you, man, I understand where Pops is coming from, because, I would also be understanding on how stupid homework is. That's just busy work, most of it.
Yeah.
And, whatever, I'm right there with the child. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but you got to spin your wheels. You got to think and do stuff. Oh, why? Well, if you don't think and do stuff, you're going to be in a pretty bad situation later on in your life.
Yeah.
And so, I get why certain things are necessary, but that's why I also said, I would challenge my youngins as well, to make sure that even if I did send them, I won't, but send them to the public school route, they're going to get challenged by me when it comes to learning things. So, the school may be on one trajectory and we're on a whole other one. So, but yeah, you got to be involved, like you said. So yeah, man, I don't have a problem with what Pop said. And, I guess overall in principle, like, to hell with school, to hell with their little system. If this is what makes you cash, go get it. Okay, I get that. But yeah, I think that's a bit aggressive, whether he was in middle school or not. I still think that's a little aggressive. And I looked it up, man. I had to Google it, man. According to Google, the first thing that popped up, it says that he's made over 50,000 in his career.
Oh wow!
And it said, oh yeah, he competed for $1 million. It's like, hey, every Sunday I compete for $1 million. I still don't win. I can't pay bills with that.
Right? Yeah.
So what are you doing, bro? This is just clearly it's a side hustle at this point. Or did you invest every fiber of your being into this? Because at that point it's scary because now you're not qualified outside of Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, man, look out, man. Yeah, in principle, I get it, but I think that it should have been a little different. But hey, he's out here, he's playing games, he's not being a menace to society per se. So I'm not saying he was raised wrong. I just think that was a little aggressive.
Yeah, it was a little early for me. I wouldn't have done it at that point. Because the thing about homework is largely a joke, and it's just a monotonous. It's an engagement in monotony. Now again, I haven't been in school for a long time. Maybe it's different. Y'all let me know in the comments if any of the the community out there who has kids that are in middle school, elementary school, high school. Let me know if it's changed. But when I was in high school, middle school, homework was nothing but monotonous. It was an engagement in extreme monotony. It was just regurgitation, repeating. My wrist got more exercise than my brain doing homework because I had to handwrite everything.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So I get it, but also at the same time, I kind of feel like it comes along with other intrinsic qualities that are good for every human to have, such as work ethic. So even though homework is a joke, having the wherewithal to be able to commit to it and complete it shows that you have a capacity for a good work ethic, which will serve you well in the long run. So on the one hand, I understand homework is a joke, but on the other hand, there's other background qualities that it helps to reinforce via you committing to doing it. So all it is just as a parent, I if it were me, I would just strike a balance between being understanding of how ridiculous it is, but also being cognizant of some of the other intrinsic qualities that it imparts upon a young person. And as a parent, it is your responsibility to help facilitate striking that balance. So it just takes me back to my central point that I just think caregivers and parents overall, in my opinion, we need to be doing a much better job of assisting these kids with self-discovery. And maybe I'm looking at the world altruistically, perhaps, but I truly do believe every human on this earth is born with a gift. That what differentiates the ones who make it from the ones who don't is the ones who make it are either very lucky, they're born into an incubator where they're basically too big to fail because maybe they're born into a family that can facilitate their success, so they really didn't have to work that hard at it because their destiny was already kind of preordained. You know what I'm saying? Or they actually discover what that gift is and they leverage it properly. Versus the rest of us who don't figure it out. And some of us figure it out late in life when we've already got kids and debt. So so it's best to be able to figure that out during your formative years when you have the opportunity to capitalize on it as much as possible. And I do think parents bear a large amount of responsibility in helping to facilitate that self-discovery, even if that self-discovery involves video gaming. So what? If video gaming is going to get you a check, and free you from the hamster wheel, then I'm going to put the PS5 in my kid's hand. It is what it is. And it's going to be my responsibility to ensure that despite the fact that he's on his PS5, I'll make sure that I send his behind outside. So that's my job. That's what I'm responsible for. And if my kid grows up weird and socially awkward, but he's really good at PlayStation, then at that point, I failed as a parent. It's my job to make sure that all of it happens. It's not a one or the other. It all has to happen. So that's just kind of how I see that one.
Yep. And last thing I'll say, and socially awkward doesn't mean, and socially like, have some social skill doesn't mean that you have to be cool or a pickup artist or any of these things. It's just to make sure that you have social intelligence.
Yes, correct.
Just so you can maneuver and move through life. Not because some people might think it's like, oh, you because you lame. It's like, hey, look, there's people out there that don't even know what the concept of cool is. They just know how to treat the next human being, and they know how to have a healthy interaction with other people within their community.
Yeah.
And so that's all I'm asking. Now, if you can do that, your community, my thing is your community can't be online. And you have to know how to physically have those types of interactions. So, I'm pretty sure him and the boys be cutting up, but it's just that, him and the boys.
Yeah.
And you're cutting up all day. So it's like, when are you going to have real life interactions, real social things, So those are the things that I hope that this young man got, or anybody else that's in these positions, so they don't have a regret of having some level of social atrophy, that they can't compete in the world outside of a video game.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's my point there, man. So, hey, but what do you guys think down in the comment section, guys? Are you feel like it was a little too, a little too harsh on the father, or not hard enough? Do you agree with the dad basically telling your son that, look, man, you ain't got to play no games, man, you ain't got to do no homework, my bad. Play the damn game. I'm telling you right now, and if y'all do have little ones, GTA 6 is around the corner. If they weren't like this young man here, they're going to start being like him very soon, because the streets are in love with that damn thing. They ain't even come out yet. They're in love with the damn trailer. So, yeah, man, look out, y'all. The MK Ultra is on your way.
Hey, look, man, shouts out to this kid, NoahTheProdigy. I will always be a champion for people who are able to free themselves from the rat race and live free by leveraging gifts that they have internally. I'm always going to be a champion for that, always, because if there's one thing that they want, the mysterious they, if there's one thing that they want, is they want you to be broke. They want you to have to need their check. They want you to have to need to show up to their office for a job every day. That's what they want. And the less of us that are in need of that, the better. So, And now we got Sir Charles Barkley, who is going off on fraternities and men in fraternities. I was actually watching this when it happened live during Inside the NBA after a couple of playoff games last week. They got onto the subject of fraternities because Shaq is completing something with Alabama. Yeah, Shaq is doing something with Alabama State University, and so he was like, "Call me Dr. O'Neal." And Shaq is a member of Omega Psi Phi, and Charles Barkley was roasting him basically for being a member of a fraternity, saying that fraternities are just for losers, essentially. Charles Barkley said only losers join fraternities. So this says Charles Barkley is not about the frat life. Only losers join fraternities. Charles Barkley is never one to hold his tongue, and now the NBA Hall of Famer has made it clear that he's not a fan of fraternities. The former Houston Rocket gave his thoughts on Greek life during a recent episode of Inside the NBA after Shaquille O'Neal references Omega Psi Phi Brotherhood. "I don't want to be in no fraternity," Barkley said, calling them a bunch of damn loser dudes getting together all the time. Only losers join fraternities. At that point, Kenny the Jet Smith jumped into the conversation and praised what fraternities do in their communities, but Barkley had already made up his mind. Knock it off. If they were that good, you'd join. When Smith responded by saying he didn't have the time to be in a fraternity back when he was in college, Barkley threw another shot. You were busy. Yeah, only losers join fraternities. After hearing that Michael Jordan was in Omega Psi Phi with Shaq, Barkley doubled down on his stance, suggesting that MJ had distanced himself from the organization. He might be a member, but he ain't doing nothing with those bums. Public Enemy legend Chuck D took to X to weigh in on Barkley's comments, responding to a video of the conversation. Crazy LOL. I went through my college years fighting frats, working with them and fighting them. As a young head, I was definitely Charles. Spike also knew it on school days. We all grew afterwards, but yeah, Charles was real on it. So yeah, here's a video of Charles roasting fraternities. Let's see here.
It begs the question.
From now on, I would like to be addressed as Professor O'Neill, because when I graduate in 2 years, I will leave you and become a college professor on mentorship and business administration. Love you.
I don't doubt it. Alabama State.
Alabama State. Shout out to Gamma Sig.
I don't think y'all do the tongue thing.
No,
that's I know.
You wouldn't know nothing about that.
No, I don't want to. I'm not going to be in no fraternity.
I'm not going. I'm not.
Damn loser dudes getting together all the time.
Oh my gosh, no, they do much more. They do great work in the community.
They don't do anything.
Just
knock it off.
They do. I'm not a member, but I
did that good. You joined.
No, I didn't have time, brother.
No, yeah, you were busy.
In college.
Yeah, only losers join fraternities.
No,
you know who else is in the fraternity?
I don't care who else it is.
The greatest player to ever play the game. Yeah, you know the name.
Who is that?
Michael Jordan.
Thank you.
Hey, Michael ain't wasting his time with no fraternity.
My ears, what are you talking about? He's a Q.
Yeah, he might be, but he ain't doing nothing with the bums.
Now they bums. Yeah. Oh my God.
Stop it, man.
Just because you couldn't get in a fraternity. You have to have a grade point average to get in.
I did.
That's why you couldn't get in.
20 points and 10 rebounds.
I couldn't get you in. I'm sorry.
Anywhere.
No, have I mentioned?
All right, so clearly there's no love lost between Charles Barkley and fraternities. Yeah, so a bunch of losers getting together all the time and bums. What do you think about Charles's scathing critique of fraternities?
Hey man, I gotta say I'm surprised about this take, because I would have assumed, like, if this was a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire thing, and they would say which fraternity was he a part of, and they just list 3 of them, and 4 of them was like he's not one. I probably would have said he's not one, because this is a trick question. Why would you say he's not in one? But still, nevertheless, I'd be like, I don't know, man. He looked more like a Sigma. And then, but yeah, I would have assumed he was already a part of one. So that's why this took me by surprise. And for him to just dunk on him like that, it's pretty noble of him to do such a thing. Now, me personally, all right, I don't want to call these guys losers, okay? Because who knows if we have any watchers here. But I will say, I don't think they're all losers. I'll say that. But I think a large majority of them are. I think some guys really use it for it's what it's turned into, as a large networking thing, so you can get on and get work outside of college. I think some guys actually use it for that and that alone. But then there's people that use it for all the other reasons. And, that's for the freak offs. That's for notoriety. It's kind of like getting a badge for some people who were getting bullied in school. You get a badge and you get a gun, and, now you're Mr. Tough Guy. It's the same thing I felt like with certain fraternity dudes, where it's like, man, what's your whole thing? But now you join this, now you're Mr. Freak Off, now you're this, that, now you're cool, now you got status. So to me, I think that a lot of those people that join those things would also do anything to get on in life. Because, well, they kind of, and most of them, if not all, they kind of make you do damn anything to get on. And I think that's bogus. I don't think that's standing on business as a human. So if if Charles Barkley was getting at what I basically said in long form, but he just got to the point and said that they're lame or losers. I guess I tend to agree with Sir Charles here. All right, because I think that's a good analogy of what I basically was trying to get at. That Shaq still sticking his tongue out at 50 plus years old, then telling Chuck he don't know what he don't know nothing about that. And then we have his airness, himself, Sir Mike is actually a Q. I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I did not know
and
that.
But that, which speaks to Charles' point and my point, that some guys just use it for what they needed to use it for, and they got out of there. And then there's the guys parading around, stomping and clapping their hands, like Shaq, who's clearly in it for all the right reasons, I'm sure. So what are your thoughts, man, on Sir Charles Barkley calling out fraternities, basically saying that those guys are losers? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, loser may be a bit of a strong word. I won't say loser. That seems harsh. But what I will say is so I went to college for a total of 7 years, 4 years undergrad, 3 years in grad school. Came across a lot of guys who were members of fraternities, obviously. The vast majority of the guys who joined fraternities during my time in college did it to get women. That's the majority. I would say 90% of the guys that joined fraternities who I knew of were doing it motivated by the pursuit of women. It wasn't really about networking. It wasn't really about family legacy. It wasn't really about history. It wasn't really about professional. It wasn't really about professional aspirations. It wasn't really about professional aspirations or community service. They were doing it because they wanted to get women. Apparently joining a fraternity made it easier to get women. And I don't deny that. It probably did. Women, especially in college, do tend to be enamored by men who have social status, especially in college, because in college, nobody really has money like that. So, in college, it's basically, how good are your social skills? And if speaking as a man who is, like in terms of getting women in college, which by the way, for anyone who's never been to college, there is perhaps no period of time in which it is easier in life for a man to get women than in college. It is easy to get women when you're in college. So
those were interesting times.
Yes, so much so that if you are not getting women in college, you either have very horrible social skills or you're doing it on purpose, or you don't like women. Those are the only three reasons that can explain why a guy who is in college isn't getting women. Hell, when you're in college, you can just kind of stumble upon women by accident. That's how easy it can be. Like you can just not even be trying, and it just happens by mistake. Like that's literally how easy it is. So, I feel like for a lot of guys who join frats in school, 90% of them, they were doing it because they were experiencing difficulty with women and wanted to join a fraternity to elevate their cachet socially so that it can be easier for them to get women. Now, if you want to characterize that pathology as loser, that's up to you. I'm not going to use that word. I am merely going to explain that in my experience, the motivation to join frats didn't have anything to do, well, I won't say anything. For the majority of those guys, community service, legacy, career aspirations, and networking were all secondary motivations. In fact, they were tertiary motivations because motivation number one and motivation number two was to get chicks. Those were the primary driving forces. Those were the primary motivating factors behind guys getting women. And so you can take that for what you will. Some people might characterize that as loser behavior. That is certainly open to interpretation. But I do think that there is something to be said for the guys who were able to successfully navigate college from a social standpoint, devoid of the merits of joining a frat. I hold those guys in higher esteem than the guys who did it by joining fraternities. There might have been some ancillary benefits that came from joining on the back end, but the motivation going in was women solely. And so, because of that, I do kind of put that into its own category of whatever you want to describe it. You know, however you want to describe it. I don't want to put the label on it. Barkley said loser. So if we are going to go by Barkley's, calculus describing that as loser, then so be it. But I do weight guys who are able to socially navigate college effectively without having to join a fraternity in high regard compared to guys who felt as though they had to join a fraternity in order to make that happen for themselves. But my overall point with this situation is all of that stuff that Kenny Smith was talking about is whatever. But most guys in college, and this is just my personal opinion based on my individual experience, a lot of those guys who joined those frats, they were doing it for the women and for nothing else.
Yeah. I mean, the dudes I knew, they was, and I didn't know, I just knew of them or play basketball or something like that. They went into the freak offs. That's what that's what it was all about. And you could tell that when you go to their parties. And yes, I didn't go to their parties. They would like host. That's part of their thing, is being club promoters nowadays too. They don't even really, get on education much. They're actually just club promoters while they're all in college. So yeah, I will go to some of their juice parties and stuff. And yeah, man, hey, when they stop the songs and they play their little stroll music and they get the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Different World clapping up in there, yeah, man, the girls was going crazy. You know what I'm saying? The not all of them, the ones that's about that life.
Well, the ones that's in the building, because only the ones who are in the ones who go are about that life. So yeah, all of the girls there were clapping it up and loving it because they're the ones who. Why wouldn't they love it? Otherwise, they wouldn't be there.
That's true. I mean, but I saw the ones that just stayed on the wall. They didn't go rush to the middle like the real ones do. The ones that's actually gonna be at the party later.
Those were the ones that were just shy about it. But they all was into it. It's just some were a little more aggressive than others.
Look at me over here, white knighting for these. Hey man, but nevertheless, bro, like it's to each their own. It was one of those things for me while I was in school, man. I thought it was personally like not it. You weren't gonna catch me doing none of that stuff that they was doing at those venues. And from what I hear on the ground floor, for most of that stuff, I wouldn't do what it takes to even be in that thing. Me personally, I don't need to pay for more ways than one for brotherhood. So that's all on them. And honestly, when it comes to fraternities and stuff, saying I don't had a long standing beef with them anyway. At least when it comes to the part of these guys actually being in very prominent positions all over the country. And they love to brag about how much they have people in the professional space, the corporate space, the government space, and all this other stuff here. And yet and still, the conditions are still the same. And these fraternal orders have been in over our communities for the past century. And there's nothing to show for it but parties.
Exactly. That's why I think they mostly stand nowadays for social prestige.
Yeah.
Like that's what they stand for. All of that other flowery stuff, I don't give it. Like, no, y'all ain't doing nothing. Like they're not doing anything. It's just social prestige. Trust and believe, even at 30, 40, 50 years old, the OGs and the old timers, they're still doing freak offs. They're just doing it for grown folks.
Absolutely.
None of that stuff ever stops. So it was really for the social benefit of it, more so than actually impacting people or communities in any positive way. It's all about social cachet.
Yeah, man. Would you tell me Shaq ain't going to a freak off? He bout that. He bout that, man. So nah, man. So I agree with Chuck, but Chuck is at the I'll pass gas in public age, just extremely loud ripping it because who cares, Now, when I used to work at Target, man, back in the day, I worked next to an old folks home, and they will always come up in there, and they didn't care who was in the aisle, how many people. If it's just me and they're standing right next to me, they'll just rip it and walk the hell off. And I started getting offended. I'm like, are they targeting me? But then at some point, I was like, no. They're just at that age, but they don't give a damn what you think. so Charles Barkley is at that age where he doesn't give a damn. He's not gonna wax poetic about how they're losers. He's just gonna say that they're losers. So hey, man, shout out to Chuck on this one. Yeah, I agree with him, man. I guess I gotta say I agree.
Yeah, I won't say loser, but I get the sentiment.
You still care, huh?
Yeah. Hey, look, man. Y'all ladies don't. Well, some of y'all. Well, I'll take that back. Ladies do know the power that they have over men. Y'all women have extraordinary power over men, enough to make guys have to endure weird, ritualistic, borderline homosexual activities in order to join an organization just so that they can get you. Like, y'all, the power of the woman is an amazing thing, bro. Because if you remove women from the equation, how much do you think there would be a drop off of guys joining frats?
Hey, man, I think some of those guys join it because of those some of those activities.
Okay, but would there not be a drop off still? If you remember,
yeah, because a lot of them go, they dabble in both worlds. So if there's a place where they can dabble in both worlds freely, like they're allowed, they'll just be over there.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say, I'm saying that if you remove women from the equation, I personally believe a lot of guys would. I think there would be a significant drop off.
Yeah, they'll find something else
of joining fraternities, because I think the overwhelming motivating factor, the driving motivating factor, is women. Women have a profound impact on men's behavior and decision. And I know that I'm not saying nothing new. We all know this. They know this. That's why they do what they do. They are well aware of the power that they have over us. But man, to see it in the flesh it isn't any less remarkable to witness it. And man, to hear, I know a few guys who went through it and did it. Like you, I wasn't really friends with a ton of guys who did frats. I just knew them via association, but some of them I was pretty cool with, enough for them to kind of tell me what they were going through. And I was just like, is it worth it, bro? I really hope it's worth it, because they were really going through all that for women, which is crazy, because it's like you can still get them without it. But, it is what it is, man.
Hey, man, I heard at those freak offs, bro, that, you know what I'm saying? It's a Diddy party.
No, it is. And I know that for a fact. I'm not going to mention her name, but when I stayed in my place in Tallahassee, there was a girl who stayed in the building adjacent to mine, and we were cool and we would talk. She went to the same school as me, and she told me that, and I'm not making this up, she told me she went to a Q-Dog event. The Q-Dog event was called the Dog Show. Now, I don't know if it's still called that. This was early 2010s. She was like, yeah, I went to the Dog Show. It was a Q event. And she described what was going on. And it was very Diddy party-esque. Trust me.
100%, bro.
So yeah, it goes down for sure. And that is why they're joining. They're joining for that. They're
exactly.
Not missed me with this whole career, professional networking. My dad did it, and so it's a family. No, you're doing it because you want to be able to go to that dog show, and y'all know it. So I hear Barkley. Yeah, I hear Barkley. I hear him 100%, man. She told me she was at the dog show. She just opened a random door to like you know how like in them apartments,
Yeah.
the washer and dryer. There's the closet door that you open. Yeah, she opened the closet door, and there was Diddy partying going on right there on the washer and dryer. Like just all it was flying all over the place. So that's the allure of fraternities, in my opinion, and nothing more.
Hey, y'all have fun out there, man. Ain't no shouts out for that. Shout out to no Diddy parties.
Yeah, man. I know it's gonna be some people who gonna comment that join Frats. No, it ain't like that. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about. All right, well then tell that to the people who told me this, because I'm not making any of this stuff up.
Nah, bro, they knew they clapping it up. Bro. What else they supposed to say? Oh man, the whole narrative's out now. It's too late. So hey man, it is what it is, man. But hey, y'all let us know what y'all think down in the comment section, guys. Do y'all feel like fraternity guys are just straight up losers? Or do you think it's a little bit more nuanced than that? And honestly, would you join a freak off?
Yeah,
and of course, down in the comment section.
And of course, I am speaking from a man's perspective. I don't know anything about sororities or anything like that.
Yeah,
we are speaking from a man's perspective with the frats. And listen, like I said, I hope it's worth it for you to go through that and join those organizations. You better be getting more action than me, because if I'm getting more action than you and I didn't go through that, then you are hustling backwards in more ways than one. I better not be getting more action than you when you join that stuff.
Oh, unbelievable.
All right, and now we got the golden boy, the GOAT, Tom Brady, getting blasted by one of his most ardent supporters in the media, Skip Bayless, who's calling Tom Brady a liar. Tom Brady is, saying he didn't have anything to... Well, Skip Bayless believes that Tom Brady was directly involved in the Raiders not selecting Shedeur Sanders in the draft, thus exacerbating Shedeur Sanders' fall in the draft. Skip Bayless believes that Tom Brady was directly involved in the Raiders not selecting Shedeur, and Tom Brady's denial of such has Skip Bayless calling him a liar, because he's saying that it is clear and obvious that Tom Brady played a direct hand in Shedeur's draft stock sliding. So this is interesting to me, because the greatest cheerleader in the media for Tom Brady in my lifetime was always Skip Bayless. So this says Tom Brady is a two-faced hypocrite, says Skip Bayless in blistering new attack over Shedeur Sanders. Tom Brady is a two-faced hypocrite whose nose is going to grow if he continues to deny any involvement in Shedeur Sanders' NFL draft humiliation, according to Skip Bayless. Speaking on his FanDuel podcast, the 73-year-old pundit and Deion Sanders loyalist once again accused Las Vegas Raiders minority owner of instructing the team's front office to ignore Coach Prime's son in last month's draft. Ultimately, the second-generation football star was taken by the Browns with the 14th overall pick after initially being traded by Bayless and many others as a first-round talent. Subsequent reports claiming Shedeur botched interviews and appeared arrogant with NFL teams have served to explain his downfall to some degree. To Bayless, though, the Raiders seemed like a good fit for Shedeur, who already has a business relationship with Brady. One of his first NIL deals was with the NFL Legends TB12 health and apparel brand. Furthermore, Brady has mentored Shedeur going back to the young quarterback's high school days in the Dallas area, making the 7-time Super Bowl winner the perfect person to evaluate Shedeur for the Raiders. And not only did the team have several chances to take Shedeur, but the Raiders also have a capable starter in Geno Smith, who could serve as a mentor to the young quarterback. Brady recently denied having any role in the Raiders' draft plans, which Bayless finds so unbelievable that he is beginning to question the retired quarterback's past statements on the Deflategate scandal. So let me get out of this and let us play some sound here that pretty much encapsulates this entire story, which includes Skip Bayless flat out calling Tom Brady a liar, because he believes that it is undeniable that Tom Brady played a direct role in plummeting Shedeur Sanders' draft stock.
Elephant in the room, Shedeur Sanders. What happened, Tom? Why did he go?
Can you turn it up more? Or?
Yeah.
And there's
let me back up. I hit the wrong volume button. All right, so here we go.
Elephant in the room. Shador Sanders. What happened, Tom? Why did he go so late in the draft?
And there's it's a good question. I wasn't a part of any evaluation process or
Skip Bayless says otherwise.
No. Well, everyone's got that's the problem with media is everyone can just say whatever the they want. I actually texted Shador because I know him very well. And I said, dude, like whatever happens, wherever you go, like that's your first day. Day 2 matters more than the draft. I was 199.
Yeah.
So who could speak on it better than me? Like what that really means. Use it as motivation. You're going to get your chances. Go take advantage of it.
Tom, you know, and I know everything I said about you and Shador Sanders is obviously exactly right. I said on the Skip Bayless show, and I tweeted several times, that Tom Brady obviously played a role in the Raiders passing on Shador Sanders 7 times in the draft before finally Cleveland took him, as you know, early in the 5th round. 7 times the Raiders passed on Shador Sanders. Yet when Tom Brady was asked on the Jake Paul podcast why Shador fell so far, he stammered for a second. And then he said, that's a good question. And then Tom said, I wasn't part of any evaluation process or to see that. I guess meaning that he wasn't at all a part of the Raiders draft process. So he wasn't privy to any inside information about why Shador fell so far, so fast.
Tom Brady on Jake Paul's podcast blasted me for saying he obviously told Raiders GM John Spytek not to draft Shador. That's my opinion. That's my take. And I know I'm right. So I fired back at Tom Brady, pointing out that Spytek, his former teammate at Michigan, had said before the draft that the Raiders would be fools not to ask Tom Brady, now Raiders owner, about quarterbacks they were considering in the draft. They'd be absolute fools not to ask Tom Brady about quarterbacks. I mean, Brady's the obvious GOAT. How many times have I said that on the airwaves over the last 10 years? Yeah, right, Tom. And you didn't fumble on that tuck rule play. So Tom, now don't go smiling assassin on Shador. Don't still try to be his mentor, his big brother, his best friend. Don't keep telling him to show them all how wrong they were about you, just the way I did. Tom, you were part of them all. You were part of those who didn't believe in Shador. So he needs to show you, Tom, not them. Don't show them all. You are part of them all. Don't be a two-faced hypocrite. You, Tom, are now part of the NFL power structure as an owner, as a broadcaster. Don't try to play both sides against the middle. Tom, I'm pretty sure Shador is on to you now.
Damn, Skip.
Jeez Louise, man. What a heel turn.
Yeah, right?
What a heel turn. Jeez Louise. Two-faced hypocrite.
That's pretty strong, man. Coming from Skip, man. Because honestly, bro, like, what do the kids say now? Glazing. Skip literally invented glazing just for Tom Brady. Now, he talking about some 10 years. Bro, this has been going on for 2 decades. All right, where you're basically going crazy for Tom Brady. And much like how LeBron did with what's your boy name? Wendy. Basically just dunking on him like the guy's a loser. Here comes Tom Brady basically saying that, you know, Skip Bayless said it. This guy, honestly, whether you like it or not, Tom, he was part of the media push that made you the GOAT in the first place. So I would think that he'd have a little bit more empathy. But again, one thing that Golden Boy can't have happen on his watch is him to be not perfect. And for Skip to call him out in his obvious hypocrisy here, I actually feel as though this is actually hilarious. This is to me, I mean, I would have never thought I'd see the day. But I agree with Skip. I don't see how. I mean, the way that when he asked him the question, as if you didn't get a transcript of everything they was going to ask you, bro. I figured that at least Tom Brady would do that. But that the question seemed to caught him off guard, like he wasn't expecting that question. So he didn't have a pre, answer for such a question. But yeah, he did stutter and stammer there, and he was basically like, "Oh shit, they asked me this. Hey, look, I didn't have anything to do with it. It was obvious cap." You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was clearly obvious Tom was lying. What did he tell those owners? Who knows? But it wasn't strong enough to make him draft him. And I don't feel as though it's a situation where Tom had to put in a good word. I don't think Tom was obligated at all. But at the same time, there is this thing going around where it does look like he's playing both sides in a sense that, hey man, I'm gonna look out for you. I'm gonna do this for you. I'm that. Even though I don't think he's actually putting it on, it's part of one of his many side quests that he does. So it was always something that was like a feather in his cap. Let's look at Tom Brady. He's even mentoring, whatever, Shedeur Sanders. Oh, that's so great. So yeah, but when it actually came to it and he actually showed how much he supports, yeah, it wasn't really there. I'm not saying that he had to, but the perfect Tom Brady narrative, he would have drafted Shedeur. So yeah, Skip calling him out, I find it hilarious. Tom Brady just dunking on him like, yo, F that guy, basically. Never thought I'd hear him even speak on Skip because he kind of didn't. The guy brought him up, but still, all of me is this is all very interesting. But I don't think Skip is off base here when it comes to Golden Boy. This is something he would have done. And I agree with Skip in the sense that, yeah, he's still going to play both sides and say, hey, man, prove him wrong. Prove him wrong. And yeah, Tom is one of them now. So I agree, man. But what are your thoughts, man, on Skip Bayless going damn near scorched earth on Tom Brady? What are your thoughts, man?
I think Skip Bayless is basing his theory completely off of circumstantial evidence. None of it really connects unless you force it to connect.
That's true.
So listen, man, if you squint hard enough, you can connect enough dots to make anything sound logical. And again, I'm not privy enough when it comes to the business of the NFL to know for sure how involved a minority owner would be in any draft process, even if the minority owner is Tom Brady, because there's a sizable difference between a minority owner and a majority owner. I would be much more inclined to believe that Tom Brady had something to do with the Raiders electing not to draft Shedeur if he was like somewhere else in the front office, like a pro personnel position, vice president of player personnel, or something that had to do with the front office and the executive office and the general manager's office and all of that. I'd be much more likely to think that he has something to do with it at that point. Now, that's not to say that he didn't. It is to say, though, that all of this to me sounds way too circumstantial. And it's just Skip Bayless gas bagging again. At the end of the day, he's just gas bagging to me, and I just will never, for the life of me, ever take him seriously. He invented this art of gas bagging. He is one of the forefathers of it, the godfather of it, if you will. And he continues to peddle it very effectively. And who would deny that his claims aren't at least somewhat palpable given who he's talking about? Because if you've been paying attention to Skip Bayless thus far throughout his career, you know that he has been suckling at the teat of Tom Brady for the last 20, 25 years. So for him to go so far as to now call the guy a two-faced hypocrite or whatever he said, towards the guy that he's been glazing all this time, where there's smoke, there must be fire. Because why else would Skip Bayless, who loves Tom Brady so much, ever fix his face to claim that Tom Brady was doing something even remotely malfeasant? So I kind of feel like all of this is circumstantial. The business of the NFL is what it is. I don't know what Tom Brady did or didn't do. I don't know. All of it is circumstantial. I do think, I will say this though about Tom Brady. I think LeBron does it more, and I think LeBron does it more egregiously. But I do think that Tom Brady has some of that petty passive aggressive in him, where he will create an environment in which something is definitely going to happen. And then when he happens, he engages in his plausible deniability, like, oh, I didn't have nothing to do with that. That's their job. I don't do, like, LeBron to me is worse than Brady.
100%.
But I do feel like Brady has done it, like with his TB12 trainer guy and all of that, and that whole incident. And even going down to Deflategate and just total deniability, like that was, I didn't have nothing to do with that. That was all coaches. Like, you don't feel the ball and know that there's something weird about the ball, bro. So it's like, I feel like him and LeBron both do this passive aggressive thing where it's like, I'm going to create a situation in which something is guaranteed to happen. And then when it happens, because technically that's not my job, I'm just going to be Mr. Plausible Deniability guy and just shirk responsibility and say, I don't do that. I just show up to work. That's their job. So I do think Tom Brady has from time to time done that. It's not as bad as LeBron, though. LeBron is the absolute worst at that kind of stuff. You know, when it comes to roster stuff, getting coaches fired, you know, throwing owners under the bus, throwing GMs under the bus, players on the roster under the bus, orchestrating trades, and then saying, I had nothing to do with that. LeBron does that all day, every day. That's his main MO. I do think Tom Brady has done it to a certain degree. So from that standpoint, anything's possible. Another thing that I did want to bring up, and this is where I will agree with Skip Bayless. Tom Brady being somebody who is now involved in ownership for an NFL franchise, yeah, he is now a part of the cabal.
Yeah, he is.
He is now a part of the cabal. He is a part he is a part of the power structure, which means when the NFL gets lumped in with controversy and when the NFL has to deal with all of that annoying stuff that owners hate dealing with, you know, Rooney Rule stuff, injustice stuff, social issues, collusion stuff, cheating scandals, stuff like this with Shador sliding in the draft, like that all gets lumped underneath the umbrella of, you know, the cabal, the organized crime syndicate that is the NFL and NFL ownership. And now Tom Brady's going to be a part of that. He's not going to be able to sidestep that because he's now a part of NFL ownership. So he is no longer going to be able to get away with coming out unscathed every single time there's controversy. At some point, something's going to happen with the Raiders organization where he's going to have to step his foot in some mud because he's a part of the outfit. And he's not going to be able to sidestep that. And that's the price that you pay for getting into bed with the cabal. But it is what it is. So that part I will agree with Skip Bayless on. He is indeed a part of the power structure, and he will be forever intertwined with the cabal unless he decides to sell his minority stake, which I highly doubt he will.
Yeah, man. And I'll just double down and double back on my point of, yeah, Tom didn't have to do this. Nowhere in, he said, even when he texted Shador, he said, what did he say? Hey, man, no matter where you go, okay? So with him saying that, basically saying, we're not going to pick you. So I think that's what I'm saying. Like, look, man, I even text the guy basically like, hey, man, wherever you end up going to, whatever.
Give him hell.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, wait a second here. And that's like that's just one of those things of, I do have somebody in my network that's really plugged in and I'm looking for work or, a recommendation or something like that from you, a letter of recommendation. And then you reach out to that person and say, hey, man, can I get a letter of recommendation? and then they send me an email, basically saying, "Hey, man, I know it's not easy finding somebody out there, but I trust that you're going to find somebody out there." But you basically told me that you're not going to sign my letter of recommendation, you know? And so, you know, that's like you said, that's Tom Brady all the way. I expect him to send that text to basically Shador, basically saying, "Hey, man, no matter where you go during the draft or maybe before, hey, whoever decides to pick you." So, yeah, man. So if that wasn't writing on the wall enough, you know, that's a passive aggressive way of saying I ain't going to pick you up. So, yeah, don't put it past him. So, but again, there's nothing obligating him to do it. He was going to get drafted somewhere. We were hoping. I was like, hey, at some point it got to a point where like, damn, will he even get drafted? But he clearly belongs in the league. He clearly has the talent. Whether he's a day one, blow him out the water guy, it may not be the case. It might be year 2, year 3, year 4. You know, who knows with this young man, but he definitely has the ability to play the quarterback position in the NFL. So, yeah, I do think he's going to prove him wrong. I'm pretty sure if I were Shador, I wouldn't. I probably knew who I was dealing with anyway. Yeah, because again, you know, before you sent that letter of recommendation, you already knew that guy and how he rolls. You know, he ain't gonna, you know, put his neck out there for me. You know, so I'm pretty sure still he's lumped into the them category. And yeah, I do hope he proves these haters wrong, man. I do think he belongs in this league. Should he be a day one starter? Who knows? But yeah, man, Skip is just being hilarious. I thought this was funny because yeah, he even went to the Deflategate thing. He said what you said. He was basically saying, you know, given all of this stuff now, maybe in the Deflategate, maybe I don't know. Maybe you did know. I said, damn, boy. He went to Tuck Rule. He went to Deflategate. So he's sending all the little buzz things out there to Tom. And, you know, petty Skip Bayless, man. You know, the ratings are low, apparently. So he got to do what he got to do.
He's such a gas bag. I can't get down with Skip. He's such a gas bag.
Oh, man.
He's such a I don't know how involved a minority owner is in any draft process.
But if I had Tom Brady on my thing.
I know that's the thing about it. That's what makes it unique is what happens when the minority owner is, you know, who many believe is the greatest quarterback ever. So that's what makes it different. Yeah.
I would ask. I don't think he's the best. I still would ask his ass.
Right.
He still played at a higher level.
Hey, man, look, man, whatever with Skip. Skip's a gas bag and good riddance when he decides to hang it up. I don't care. I don't care. That guy can go kick rocks.
Yeah, for sure.
And now on to the NBA draft lottery heard round the world. The Dallas Mavericks, who had, I believe, a 1.8% chance to secure the number 1 overall pick in this year's NBA draft, got it after being embroiled in so much controversy when they traded away the franchise Luka to the Lakers in return for Anthony Davis and Max Christie. Kyrie Irving tears his ACL. Anthony Davis, of course, is hurt like always. The Mavericks ended up in the play-in but didn't make it into the general tournament. They could have tanked to try and get a higher percentage at the number 1 overall pick, but they didn't. They tried to win games at the end of the season. They got into the play-in. They lost to the Grizzlies. And no one thought that the Mavericks were going to get the number 1 overall pick. But lo and behold, the Mavericks, of all the teams in the league that were eligible, got the number 1 ping pong, presumably to draft Cooper Flag. And, you know, this has been going crazy viral since this happened. So this says Nico Harrison's priceless reaction to Mavericks landing number 1 pick in NBA draft goes viral. The talk of the basketball world on Monday night was none other than Dallas Mavericks general manager Nico Harrison after the team improbably landed the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. Harrison had already made headlines earlier in the season for an unexpected and highly controversial decision, trading franchise superstar Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers before the trade deadline. In return, the Mavericks received Anthony Davis, max crispy, and draft compensation. The move was met with widespread backlash, with many Mavericks fans even chanting for Harrison's firing during home games. But on lottery night, Harrison may have earned a second life. With Dallas now in position to draft the consensus number one prospect, Duke's Cooper Flagg, viewed by many as a potential franchise-altering player, everything suddenly looks brighter. A video of the Mavericks front office reacting to the news quickly went viral, with Harrison front and center, jumping from his seat in pure excitement as the room erupted in celebration. So here is said celebration. Get out of here. Okay. Here is said celebration.
The second pick will be made by
Look at Michael Finley.
The hell they doing?
Hey man, I don't know who put that phone there to record that, but move it around. Like move it around. Y'all just let it sit there. Hey man, shouts out to Michael Finley. He was always one of my favorite players growing
Absolutely.
up. Harrison can be seen seated at the front, immediately jumping up and cheering after the Mavericks landed the number one pick. The video quickly went viral, surpassing 230,000 views within minutes and spreading across several social media platforms. Just so we're clear, it's still fire Nico, a fan said. Nico realizing he's no longer the most hated man, another fan posted. Someone else added, Nico doesn't deserve this moment. One more fan commented, I guess there is a 1.8% chance that he gets traded, and for some reason 1.8% seems like really good odds these days.
Hysterical.
While many Mavericks fans clearly still haven't fully moved past the controversial trade that sent Luka to LA, Harrison now has a prime opportunity to build a roster capable of competing for a championship, something Dallas was contending for not too long ago. If the Mavericks select Cooper Flagg, which seems highly likely, they'll be adding a potential franchise cornerstone to a core that already includes Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, and Kyrie Irving, who is currently rehabbing an ACL injury. Additionally, the team has promising young pieces like Christie, Jaden Hardy, and Derek Lively, giving them both star power and depth leading into the future. So, yeah, man, Mavericks got the number one pick, bro. 1.8% chance. Draft lottery drew their ping pong ball over all those other teams who had exponentially more odds. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Funny you ask, bro. First thing that popped in my brain was, "Are you not entertained?" That was the first thing that popped in my brain. I was like, "Yeah, are you not entertained here?" This is WWE, man. This is WWE, man. You don't get no more blatant slap in the face than this. I'm sorry, bro. But if there's still people out there that doesn't, you have the authority to do whatever you want if you're the NBA. Yeah, there's these things going on, but we created the rules. We control the board. Why would we not move certain pieces around so we always win? And it's just gotten to the point at this point where everybody's watching. They don't care. Let's just move these pieces around. You guys are going to like the story anyway once it comes out. And of course, this is nothing but narrative. And so the league, I think the league got tired of taking losses, and because they've done this historically now. Because we just covered when LeBron was on the Pat McAfee thing, and he was like, "Oh yeah, so when Cleveland got the number one pick, I already knew what time it was." You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, when Derrick Rose went to Chicago, all right, when Patrick Ewing went to New York, you say, he understood the assignment. It's like, yeah, that's what the NBA does. But I think nowadays people aren't just going to sit around and watch this stuff. people are a little bit more observant of the NBA's patterns. And no, it didn't make sense to trade Luka to LA. It just doesn't. It didn't make sense then, but it makes a lot of sense today. And it very much looks like that there was some shadow behind the, collusionary deal where it was like, hey, we need LA to continue to be a market. Put Luka over there. Trade Luka. Are you mad? And it's like, hey, man, you do that, you get number 1 pick. All right. So then you get another guy that's just going to be, supposed to be one of them ones. So to me, this looks like NBA collusion. Now, I've called this stuff out before, but I felt as though I was still, not by you, maybe now, I don't know, still viewed as a skeptic. Still viewed as some crackpot that has a little too much fun with tinfoils. But no, I really feel rectified. I feel more redeemed than Nico Harris himself after that, because I said, you know what? I didn't see this coming, but yes, this whole situation proves my point. I haven't seen one person on the internet since this thing came out I've seen people that are being neutral, but they're neutral. This don't make sense. It's a little fishy. It's a little coincidental. And yeah, my whole thing is the league always moves in these coincidental, fishy fashions. But I think this one was such a slap in the face that a lot of people saw and heard it. But what are your thoughts, man, on the Dallas Mavericks with that 1.8% chance to get the number 1 pick and actually land it? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, it does. It's very, very coincidental.
Yeah, that's a good word.
It's very coincidental for sure. But look, here's what I'll say, and you might disagree with this, and that's fine. Even if it is, like, I am not saying that I believe it was fixed, rigged, collusion, whatever. But even if it is, who cares? The way that I see it, I'd rather the draft be rigged so that Cooper Flag get drafted to a well-run organization that has a good pedigree so that he can be a player that is showcased and featured, and his potential has a greater chance for being maximized than for him to be drafted to the Charlotte Hornets, where he will basically be squandered away in NBA obscurity by an organization that doesn't know what the hell it's doing, a front office that doesn't know what the hell it's doing, a franchise that does not know how to do business well, have him playing alongside LaMelo Ball, who is perhaps the most unserious basketball player in all of the NBA. I don't want to see Cooper Flag go there. And the Charlotte Hornets had a higher percentage chance to get the ping pong ball. What good does it do any of us as basketball fans to see Cooper Flag go play in Charlotte?
Correct.
Again, and so what do you want? Now, I'm not, when I say you, I don't mean you personally. I'm just saying in general to the people who complain about this. What do y'all want? Like, you want Cooper Flag to get drafted by the Washington Wizards so that he can never contend, never go to the playoffs, never be taken seriously as a player, never be an all-star, never be all-team NBA. He will never compete for any of those distinctions because he plays for a loser franchise that is run rife with incompetence. The Washington Wizards have not been a viable franchise in my lifetime. I'm almost 40 years old. I've never seen the Wizards be good, ever. And that is because that organization is incompetent. So you can holler collusion, fix, rigged, whatever. That's fine. I want to see incompetent people who run competent. I want to see people and companies, franchises, organizations that are competently run, that are well run, continue to succeed because they deserve it, because they put the effort and the resources and the money into being well run organizations that know how to draft well. Their farming system is good. Their G leaguing is good. They pay coaches. They will max out guys if they need to, and they will try to put good rosters together so that they can actually put a product on TV that I don't mind watching, as opposed to it being the Washington Wizards, which is an absolute eyesore of a watch on any I don't give a damn what you're watching on. I can't watch a Wizards game. So what do you want? You want Cooper Flag to go to the Wizards so that he can play next to perhaps the second most unserious basketball player in the league, Jordan Poole? I'm not trying to watch Cooper Flag play with Jordan Poole.
Come on, man.
I don't give a damn. What do you want? You want him to get drafted by the Portland Trailblazers so that he can be up there in the Pacific Northwest playing for nothing all the time? And here's what's going to happen. He's going to become an unrestricted free agent because his rookie deal is going to expire. And because he wants to win and be more viable, he's going to demand a trade, and everybody's going to kill him for demanding a trade. That's all that's going to happen to him, because the organization isn't just going to let him leave via free agency. They're going to say, oh, this guy wants to leave. Let's get something back. So he is going to hold the organization hostage by demanding a trade to a better team. And then he's going to get roasted by people on social media and the internet and the media for cantankerously demanding a trade.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and fix the ping pong balls so that he can be drafted by an organization that actually puts forth the effort and knows what it's doing. Because you can say what you want about Nico and trading Luka. You can say that was collusion, whatever. That's fine. What I do know is the Mavericks as an organization have a history of being competitive. They were in the finals in 2006. They were in the finals in 2011, and they were in the finals last year. And then even when they weren't in the finals, they were still winning a lot of games in the regular season and competing for high playoff seedings going back when they had Nash and Dirk. And then when it was the Dirk era with Sean Marion, and they were competing. So the Mavericks have a history of being a well-run organization. Whether it was fixed or not, I will take great players getting drafted into that situation as opposed to them getting drafted into a horrible situation where they're just basically going to drift off and be nothing. I don't want Cooper Flag to get drafted by Brooklyn.
Yeah.
The Wizards, the Hornets. I don't want Cooper Flag to get drafted by the Hawks. To do what? Lose all the time and not do anything meaningful? I don't care. I don't want to see that. So if if the rigging and the collusion means that good players get drafted into good situations, fine, I'll take it. I don't give a damn.
And that's what the league said. and so they said, to hell with the rules that we set down. The bottom line is we're back. We're behind. And we need to put these people in position so they can, help with ratings. Because like you said, if you play for the Hornets, is it even going to be on TV? If they are on TV because it's Cooper Flag, it's a bad product because nobody want to watch the Hornets play. So the NBA loses when all of these high-value people go to these trash markets. And it's not so much the fans. It's how the organization is, like you said, is being run.
Exactly. I don't like. That's why I was very careful to not bring it. I was very careful to not even talk about market because I don't care about that. Like, fans don't care about that. Like, the media keeps bringing that up, and it's very aggravating when they do this. Like, no one wants to see Indiana play Minnesota in the finals. Says who? I would watch that. Like, if it's good basketball, I don't care that it's the Pacers versus the Timberwolves. Like, these gas bags in the media make too much of markets. I don't care whether it's the Knicks or the Pacers. If it's a fun, exciting team that's fun to watch, I don't care what the team is. That's why I didn't bring up market because I don't care about where it's located. I really don't care. But certain organizations historically are poorly run. It just is what it is. And so I'm not trying to watch that. I don't care what the market is. The Wizards don't know what they're doing. Like, they really should just fold up. Like, why even bother having a team? The Wizards, the Hornets, even the Hawks, like, perpetually either mid or bad. Like, I don't want to see good players get put into that situation no more than I want to see a really good like the NFL. Like, I hate to see quarterbacks who have all of the like potential get drafted by bad organizations that are just going to squander it. Like, what good does that do? Like, I hope it works out for Caleb, but I don't know how good Caleb is going to be in his career because he plays for the Bears. So who knows how good he's going to be? I have no idea, because throughout my lifetime, the Bears have been bad. So that's my thing. I just want people who are good to go to places that know what they're doing. And I don't think market has anything to do with that, because DC is a big market and they have been bad, trash my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah, but I agree with that. And the reason why those gas bags talk about market, because that's what matters to the NBA. And if there was a team that wins that's good, like OKC, air quote, no one cares. And no matter how many people attend those games and stuff like that, there's only so much purchasing power, air quote, in that area, and thus worldwide. But if you have a global brand like the Lakers, if you have a global brand like what do you say? And that's why I feel like the Knicks. I was like, man, that's a global brand. Why don't I do more for them? But a global brand like the Celtics, you can mess around with that and allow those teams that always win, whatever. Now, granted, the Spurs proves competence, the Mavericks prove competence, and the Heat, honestly, as crazy as we are sometimes, we've proved competence. So the NBA doesn't mind colluding for these teams. So I used to play NBA 2K14 a lot. The dynasty mode and stuff. And I played it years after, because I just refused to buy another game. So if it's about roster updates, I'll just update it myself. Yeah. So I played 14 a lot. And one thing that you could do in there is rearrange draft pick orders. At least I think you could. Yeah, you could. You could rearrange draft pick orders. Man, once I figured that out, I was putting certain teams number one that I wanted to have the number one pick. I started, yeah. And when you're the commissioner of the league, you can do that. I think what people are getting so bent out of shape about it and getting so fussy about it, and the reason why I think it's important is you're not dealing with legitimate stuff. You're dealing with a league that does stuff that benefits the league. And so, yeah, they told you that this is about ping pong balls, but it's not. And they told you that, and my thing, it don't stop with the draft lottery. They do this whole narrative thing, and now I see that they do it through trades. They don't care. They need a narrative to push. And they need to be able to sell tickets and keep people watching these dumbass games so they can keep showing us Wingstop commercials. So, nah, man, they're going to do whatever it takes. And this proved it to me. This whole Luka over there, Mavericks number one, to me, this proves what I already knew. But this is my exhibit A. Come on now, explain this. All the other stuff might have been coincidental, but come on with this. And my thing is, they're not going to stop. So when the referees got seem to swallow their whistle in certain situations or overblow it for other ones, the NBA has agendas because they're selling a product to you. They're selling you entertainment. And so long as those guys go out there and do what they do, that's fine. But we're going to control as much of this as possible. Because when I was playing video games like that, and I can control things. Hell, with NCAA college football, I can force what team wins. That's not even my game. I was like, I don't want Notre Dame to win. So I'm gonna force them to lose. And when you got it like that, you say you lose. So I get it, but just know that this isn't an all fair thing, and this is for all sports leagues, in my opinion. They have their ways of manipulating it so it can pan out in their favor. And I think that this was just such an obvious situation, at least for me, to go there. Well, see, there you go. This is what the NBA does. This is what other leagues do, but the NBA just seems to be more sloppy. But hey, man, Shout out to Nico Harris, man. He's been resurrected, man. He was in a tomb for 3 days, and now he is risen because now he's got the new basketball Jesus, Cooper Flag, man. So shout out to Nico, man.
Yeah, I mean that all of that is all well and good. I just know that there's a very realistic possibility this year that we can have a Pacers Minnesota Timberwolves NBA Finals, and I'm struggling to find the agenda in that. So that's my only thing. That's why I'm reluctant to go so far as to fully believe that this is some sort of an orchestrated fix with these sports leagues, because sometimes good business gets rewarded for doing business well. And by that, I mean good players going to good teams and then those teams continuously contending year over. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's because those organizations are just more well run than others. It is highly coincidental that the Mavericks did get the ping pong ball, though. So that part, I can understand why people are rolling their eyes. But at the end of the day, if we end up watching Pacers, Timberwolves in the NBA Finals this year, I'm sorry.
It pays off for Anthony Edwards.
That's okay, but it dispels.
No, it doesn't, because Anthony Edwards is the new thing.
That's yeah, but I can point to so many other examples throughout the history of the league of great players that the league wanted to prop up that couldn't get over that hump for various other environmental reasons. So what I'm saying is you can't isolate this instance as a case study for how that's something that always happens, because I can point out franchise players that played for organizations that aren't the Lakers, the Knicks, the Warriors, whatever, throughout history that weren't going to the finals, let alone playing against the Pacers. I mean, the damn Detroit Pistons, which were an eyesore, as well as the San Antonio Spurs, which were also an eyesore, stayed going to the conference finals and the finals every year for like a decade. It was the most annoying thing in the world. So I hear you, bro. Where there's smoke, there very well may be fire. My only point is, for every example of this is where the league has its agenda, I can point to one other example where I can say this is an example of how the league may not have an agenda. I just kind of feel like at the end of the day, I don't care. Is my overall thing is with this, I don't care. I'm not betting on this. I don't make money off of it. Unless it's the Miami Heat, I do not have an emotional investment in any of this. Ever since Kobe retired, I haven't rooted for any individual player. I just root for the Miami Heat as an organization. And the Miami Heat as an organization is a well-run one. So even when we experience down years, we eventually bounce back despite all of the NBA doohickey that's going on. And above all else, I just don't want to see good players. I don't want to see bad organizations be rewarded for being bad. I don't like seeing bad businesses being rewarded for being run poorly. So I don't want to see the Charlotte Hornets get rewarded for being a horribly run organization by getting the number 1 overall pick. Same with the Wizards, same with the Nets, same with the Hawks. I don't want to see that. I just don't want to see it. Like, you shouldn't get rewarded for being bad on purpose. And even if you're not bad on purpose, you shouldn't be rewarded for not doing well by your fan base by trying to be competitive and putting a good team together. So when you're a poorly run organization, you don't want to pay for scouts, you don't want to pay for coaches, you don't want to pay for a good GM, you want to be a penny pinching owner that doesn't really care about winning games, you just want to care about your profit margins and your tickets and concession revenue, then you deserve to be bad all the time. And I don't want to see good players get drafted into those horrible situations. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Rigged or otherwise, I don't care. I just don't want to see good people go into bad situations.
And my thing is, they don't control every single outcome. You know, there's still some randomness that goes to this. You can send the referees out there to do what the Lakers did to the Kings, and whatever game 6 that was. All right, you can send the refs out on a mission to try to curve outcomes, but the ball still bounces. All right, and so my thing is that the league does have agendas. And you can say, "Oh, what's the agenda with the Pacers and the Timberwolves. Listen, it's not going to be. And some of those finals where some of those teams won, you'll look down the thing and you'll say Spurs this or whatever that. Some people don't even know who they played because it's not about who they played; it's about who won. And my thing is with the league, it matters to me because I was invested in a sport emotionally that is not. It's what they want. Even with the Heat in 2006, we cheated. We cheated against the Mavericks. We didn't deserve to win that. Wade went crazy, but they cheated for us. They gave Wade all the calls. Go look at the shooting, the discrepancies. The NBA colluded for us to get LeBron, Bosh, and Wade. They did that. The NBA did that. And so my thing is, and even with that team, even though they would love for us to win, not 4, not 5, not 6, even though the NBA would want us to do that, we still only won 2 out of 4. Because when you're playing in certain these situations, which the Mavericks understood, is that you got to beat the Heat and the referees. And some teams, when they got and they was playing the Lakers, they forgot that you got to play the Lakers and the referees. So when you sitting there, you hollering, you throwing your hands up, you lost the game. And so certain teams fell right underneath that. OKC didn't know. They were too young. They didn't know what the hell was going on when we were cheating.
So let me ask you this. So do you believe that the league, you believe that this is new? Like you think the NBA just got like this?
No, they did it with Patrick Ewing. They fixed that so he can go over
so
there.
then what is the hugabaloo about then if it's always been this way? Well, what?
I don't have hugabaloo. My thing is that when you're watching the WWE, don't sit there and think that, Mankind did get a slash on his face. Okay. He was actually bleeding. Okay. So there is elements of real to it, but it is still theater. And just like how we know they give MVPs to people, they give certain things to other people and whoop-de-whoop and whoop, certain accolades to certain people. It's a narrative. It's a game. It's Barbie dolls for men. So my whole thing is when I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, I go, there's an element of me that enjoys the WWE of it. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and go, those guys actually fought hard or did whatever. It's like, nah, man, because at the end of the day, I'm still dealing with theater. So, no, I don't get emotionally invested on any part of it anymore. And my thing is that the NBA, if this just to show you that the NBA will sit around and meddle around with certain things that they say has integrity, they'll meddle around with other things. You think it stops here? So that's my point. And so, yes, they can send Cooper Flag to the Mavericks. That doesn't mean he's going to be good there. That doesn't mean he's not going to get a knee injury. That's not means he's not going to turn into Kristaps Porzingis.
I can guarantee you he'll be better there than if he was in Washington.
My thing is that Kristaps Porzingis still end up getting hurt. And so you can't control his knee blowing out.
Well, yeah, you can't control that.
You can control certain things. You know the environment, but you can't control the absolute scenario.
That's always been the case, though. I mean that is just the variables inherent in these sports that have always been around for like 100 years. Like that has never not been the case. Like never in any point has that not been the case. So it just, you know what I'm saying? I just don't. When I'm watching the games and I'm seeing the teams, I'm watching the games and I'm watching the players trying to win the game. All of that other stuff is whatever. Like, I feel you on all of that, but where I remove myself from it is I sit there, I watch the games, and I say the teams are trying to play the games. Now, the circumstances that persisted to put those teams in position to play in those games, I don't know. I guess psychologically, I kind of block that out of my head. When I'm watching this, I'm saying those guys are trying to win the game. And at this point, as a grown adult who's not making money off this, I see it. And I just kind of feel like this is what has always been with this. It's always been weird stuff going on with these leagues all the time, like forever. That has never not been the case. All of that stuff that you just said.
Some people don't think that at all. And my point is, this should show you that this is evidence of that. That's my whole point. So whether it is or whether it's not, I still gamble on it. So my point is that, you know, I don't care. But if there is people out there that actually, because there's some people that's really burning jerseys, you know, not over this, but yeah, they'll get crazy with it. So my thing is that understand that this is a product. This is a product they're selling. No more, no less. It's Tyler Perry with a basketball, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is, bro. I mean, you know, even if we're not talking professional sports, I feel like bro, you can go to, like, I have a cousin who did professional bodybuilding competition. There's weird stuff that happened in that. And that was like local bodybuilding competition up in Maryland.
Exactly.
And there was some, you know, I don't want to use the word corruption, but you know, there was red tape. What really is competitive balance at the end of the day is my question. Like,
not when you're dealing with gambling.
Okay, but you have to, like, I think you just kind of have to reassess what it even means. Like, what does competitive balance even mean? Like,
and this is my point, bro. You're dealing with mechanisms created by people meant to distract men. So my whole point is none of these professional things have integrity. That guy shouldn't be wasting his time building body weight and not doing combat. He should be doing something that actually matters instead of lifting weights. He's wasting his time with something that is already fixed. So don't waste, my message is don't waste your emotional energy on a league that is fake if you think it's real.
Okay.
That's my point.
All right. Well, we agree to disagree. I don't think it's fake.
I'm sorry to hear
I don't think it's fake.
The Heat, all them Heat championships, we didn't deserve them because we cheated to get it.
All right. That's fine. So long as I feel like I'm watching competitive games on the court, I'll take that. Cheating or otherwise. And like I said before, even if you want to holler about stuff being fixed for agendas, I'm okay with that if it means bad people not being rewarded for doing things badly. So I don't care. Give me all of that.
They needed to change that model. They need to fix tanking, and I think this is also a message towards tankers. So yeah, man, I agree with it. Yeah. I told you I did it in the game, but I control the game.
Yeah.
Who wins is who I win. And then when I hit simulate in the last one because I'm feeling frisky this time, I don't want the same team to win. And the other team win, I go, oh man, what a spice up in the narrative.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a follow-up on this because a lot of what you said I don't like. But that's a video for another day. We'll go ahead and move on. All right, and last but not least, we have I don't even really know how to describe this, but I guess I can describe it as potentially toxic gym behavior on the part of women with respect to how they choose to dress is kind of being put on blast by content creators and people online who have just had enough. So I guess the idea is not all. We don't want to generalize, or rather we are generalizing, but it's not all, but some women, attention-seeking behavior is being called out by people who are observing this on the part of women who go to the gym, looking to get more than just gains on the weights and on the squat rack. So the way that they dress and how they choose to present themselves is distracting, and people are calling that out because they're saying that they're doing it on purpose, and that they can tone it down, but the reason that they won't tone it down is because of their need for attention, and it's purposeful. And so there's a lot, me as a ardent gym goer, I have experience with this sort of thing, but this was pretty interesting. So first we'll go ahead and we'll play this sound, and then we'll go ahead and talk about what we think is taking place once it's over.
Like, we really in a day and age, we're telling, can you please stop coming to the gym ass naked? Starts a public discourse, a public uproar. Like, all we want to do is come to the gym and work out, but no, the leg press machine got to look like a casting couch because is literally at the gym in lingerie. Like, what the f- are we talking about? Your eyes will tell you it's not bothering anybody. I'm uncomfortable. What the f- are we at Myrtle Beach or LA Fitness? Help me understand. Help me understand why you feel the need to come outside damn near naked. What is it about? Why are you fighting so hard to literally just go in public service ass naked? Like, that's essentially what the f you fighting for.
Why are y'all on here trying to get on that man for saying that it makes him uncomfortable when he goes to the gym and all the is half naked? He didn't say he couldn't finish his workout. He didn't say all he said was it makes him uncomfortable to be around a bunch of naked bodies in a place where naked bodies don't belong. Why are y'all so dense? Why are y'all so dense? This feminism shit, I don't know. Everything is not women empowerment. Everything is not women empowerment. What makes you feel so empowered about being able to be naked everywhere? I say as I'm in my towel.
The modest gym clothes discussion has been on my timeline like crazy. I had to come on as a seasoned gym girly and give my 2 cents because I do have something to say. Now, I get it. People are saying like girls be in the gym wearing like very revealing clothes, and some girls absolutely do. I personally attend a non-Black gym, and the girlies come in there pretty much dressed the same way as the girls do, and I don't really see them talking about this like that. So it's kind of actually irritating me a little bit. The number one thing that I want to bring to this conversation is the fact that there are not a lot of brands that make gym clothes for curvy women. If you have a little bit of muscle, a little bit of leg, a little bit of butt, good luck finding a modest, cute, comfortable pair of leggings or shorts that you feel comfortable in, because likely you're not going to be able to find any. And I'm talking about Lulu, Aloe, Nike, Adidas, Puma, all of them. They do not make clothes for curvy girls. Also, too, keep in mind what's very trendy right now: seamless this, seamless that, seamless this. So yeah, your coochie print is going to be in the damn gym because there ain't no seam, because all the brands are making it for girls who don't have much body. Not to mention, sizing is always a problem for Black women in particular. A small is not a small, a medium is not a medium, a large is not a large, so on and so forth. So while I get what everybody is saying, it's really not so black and white, and I really don't like it that people are coming for girls who are in the gym who really are just in there a lot of times just trying to work out. Yes, my gym outfit is very important because when you look good, you work out so much better. But I can guarantee you a lot of women are not in the gym looking for attention. Not a real gym girly who's really working out. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Whatever. Y'all say what y'all want to say. Sorry, my coochie print showing. It ain't my fault.
I think there's been some
Yes, it
miscommunication. I don't think this is the sports bra and shorts combo that people are having an issue with. Amazing body, but I think this is the combo people are struggling with. You know, this right here, this combo. I think this is what's making people uncomfortable.
Okay, so that was a great collage of content there. And I didn't even know gym talk. Oh no, that's just what you titled it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really a gym talk out there. So.
Oh, there's a gym talk for real.
Yeah,
Oh.
man, it's a whole network of people just talking gym, bro.
Oh wow. Yeah, unplugged guy over here.
Hey man.
So yeah. So what do you think about some people? I'm assuming even the dissenters are gym goers themselves. But and what do you think about them dissenting against this apparent attention-seeking form of behavior on the part of some women who go to the gym with what they have to put on?
You know, I think that this conversation is well needed. I think this is something that been needed to happen. I'm not an avid gym goer. You know, if I do go, I'll sprinkle in there. I do need to get a little bit better on that. But the times that I am in there, I tend to see more, neutral stuff. I don't really see anything crazy because I don't go there enough. And I'm damn sure not there during peak hours if I am there. But I do see enough while I'm at the grocery store because I spend as much time in the grocery store as I should in the gym. Okay, so so I would see women who are coming in from the gym, and it's like you could have changed. I know you either fresh from your workout or you feeling yourself or whatever, but you're a little naked right now, and I could see everything. And so, bending over like Miss Parker and Friday, just inappropriate stuff. And even while I'm in the grocery store, first of all, I treat everything like an HR situation. Like HR can get involved. Nowadays, man, you can't do anything. And so I think this is where the uncomfortability of this situation comes from certain men who are at the gym, and you see something, and yeah, man, it's all the way up in there. You can see everything. And God forbid if you glance over there and y'all so happen to cross eyes and she thinks you're a creep and been watching her whole workout. And now you're some weirdo that's following her around from machine to machine. And it's like, okay, look, it's not that deep. okay, lady. I just finished a rep. All right, I'm getting some breath. And I just glanced over there and I said, oh my God, is she even wearing pants? Oh, snap, she is. And as I say that, you know what I'm saying? So now guys are considered creeps. They're getting recorded and put on these compilations online.
That's very toxic. Yeah.
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 And so when guys feel like they're in a situation where there's just a piece of cheese hanging out on the trap, yeah, they're not going to go for it anymore. They don't even want to be caught looking at the cheese. And because if you do, it's like whatever. So it's like, okay, so why are we allowing women to come into the gym with mouse traps? So that's what's making me uncomfortable. So I think that this is speaking to a larger conversation. It's deeper than some weird guy just hating. I think that this is something where men in public in general will have to deal with this to a degree. But I already seen the stuff that comes in and out of gyms, and it's to another level because there's a plausible deniability behind it.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts, man, on the internet having a heated debate on the appropriateness of women's gym gear? What are your thoughts, man?
As someone who goes to the gym a lot, I understand it. Shouts out to Kevin Samuels. I remember, obviously, before he passed away, during the pandemic, one of the things that he said that turned out to be very true, he was actually quite prophetic. Going into lockdown, when everybody was locked inside, he predicted that when things open back up, there was going to be a decent amount of people who would be reluctant to go back into social environments in enclosed spaces the way that they used to. So he said, even though places like clubs and bars would still be a thing once we got out of lockdown, because of this whole pandemic and close quarter situation, it wasn't going to be the same in terms of how much people attended places like that in order for them to get their social interactions.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that he said was he believed that the gym, once lockdown ended, was going to become the new meat market. Meaning, whereas people went to the club and to the bar to hook up and to try to meet and find dates and all of that kind of stuff, some of that action was going to be replaced by the gym, because men and women go to the gym. It is subtly, not overtly, but subtly, it's a sexually charged environment, just like a club or a bar. It isn't as overt as the club. Like, when you go to the club, you're entering into an alternate reality where sexuality and just sexual behavior it's put to the forefront. And what he was saying was the gym is going to kind of be an adjacent to that, where it isn't as overt, but people are going to turn to the gym in lieu of social gatherings like clubs and bars to try to get that same kind of fulfillment need fulfilled. So, women were going to start going to the bar, to the gym, and men were going to start going to the gym still to work out, but also to maybe get dates, meet people, hook up, and all that kind of stuff as people move further away from clubs and bars and things of that nature. And I largely agree with him. I think the gym has become a meat market in 2024 and 2025, I'll still say the vast majority of the people who go for fitness and exercise and wellness.
Mhm.
But I think that there's an increased amount of people who go now for the social aspects of it compared to the way they used to. So if you can look at it like a slice of pie, if there's 10 slices of pie prior to 2020, I would say 90 slices of that were people going to it for typical reasons, and one slice of it was people going for attention and social fulfillment. Whereas now it's probably more like 60-40, 70-30. 70% going for typical reasons versus 30% going for social fulfillment, or 60% for typical reasons versus 40% going for social fulfillment. And I do agree with that. I kind of see it. And again, it's not all, and so it's not just men do it, it's not just women do it, men do it too. But just like when you go to a club and you see, just like when you go to a club or to a bar and guys are wearing jeans and an outfit, but otherwise they're kind of covered up. When women go to the club, they're wearing dresses and form-fitting clothing that show off their body. So that's kind of how women contribute to this kind of dynamic. So if we are going to transfer that outlet from a club or a bar to a club, you can then conceivably also transfer that same type of eye-catching behavior. And so you're not going to go to the gym wearing like the dresses and the heels and all of that, but you'll still go to the gym wearing form-fitting, figure accentuating clothing for a similar intention. And I do believe that that is happening. And now, don't get me wrong, some of it is extremely obvious. I've seen women literally walk into a gym wearing form-fitting gym attire, and I'm not making this up. I've seen women walk. This actually happened 2 weeks ago. It was a Sunday. A girl walked into the gym looking like she was coming in there to work out. She was wearing all the clothes and everything. But what she did was she went into the all-purpose room, which is the room that they had, the studio room, the room that they have for pickleball and doing classes. And she took out her tripod and just spent the next 45 minutes posing for photos and posing. And she did it to pose photos and videos that she can post to her social channels, because the gym has been identified by certain people as a new outlet to be able to capitalize on the sexual marketplace. And women are the main purveyors of the sexual marketplace. And how do women most effectively capitalize or leverage on the modern sexual marketplace? By accentuating their physical features. And so if the gym becomes a new environment with which they can do that, they're going to take advantage of it.
Yes.
Now, again, is that all women? No, it is the percentage of women who do it. But to suggest that there are no women who do this is silly. Like, I feel like that's being disingenuous. Of course, women are doing this. The question is whether it's the majority of them or whether it's just a small percentage. That's the question we should be asking, not whether this is something that the internet is just making up, because it's not. There are women who are doing this. I've seen it with my own eyes. And listen, to the woman talking about, certain manufacturers don't make gym attire for curvy women, and sorry, my camel toe is showing, it's not my fault. Look, man, I've seen it. Like, there's subtle ways to do it where you're not wearing super form-fitting, figure accentuating clothes, and you're still getting your point across, and you can still work out. I kind of feel like if you're looking like that, you're doing it on purpose. And, and they'll tell you, oh, look good, feel good, work out good, whatever. You're doing it on purpose. And whether you're eliciting overt attention or whether you're getting attention subtly, but it's not happening overtly, you're still receiving the dopamine rush from the attention all the same.
Yes.
And I don't understand what's so hard to comprehend about that. I feel like people who try to argue that that's not happening are just lying. And these are probably people who are insecure about the fact that they do it themselves.
Yes.
But I do believe that this is a thing. I don't think that we should be asking whether it exists or not, because I think it's clear that it does. And I think that we should be asking what's the percentage of it that does exist compared to the percentage of it that doesn't.
Yeah, and I think it's the same percentage of like you said, like the ones that would wear those types of things at the club. I think it's about pretty much that percentage, but that percentage at the club has gone up. So so I think everywhere there's always been the siren woman, you know, the woman that's looking for that sexual attention in the marketplace. But I think that has increased over the years through the hypersexualization of everybody.
And the sexual marketplace, which goes hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I remember club attire where, you know what I'm saying, when we were going out still, while we were in school or whatever, like they were showing stuff now. There was form-fitting things there. But nowadays with these women I mean, they're literally walking out with a thong and a mini skirt that's not even a skirt, really. You know, you can see all cheeks. We didn't get that. We didn't get that privilege.
We did.
When we were horned out young men, we didn't get those kinds of visuals. We still had to use our imagination.
Or really like what the celebrities do now. Where
I seen stuff.
Yeah, that's very common. So like, you know, it isn't even like short skirts or dresses. It's literally like, I see your naked body.
Yeah,
I see it.
Yeah.
So nothing's being left to the imagination anymore. So
Right.
it's 100% been ratcheted up.
Yeah, and so like you said, you'll see, and I think it's that same percentage of women that just are exhibitionists right now, and they take that to the gym, and you know they really feeling themselves now because they're getting that body they always wanted, and so yeah, they're really doing it. And see, my thing is, the whole thing is, that the part that gets me is the fake obliviousness to what they're doing, that is completely benign and innocent, that the guy is the creeper, because, and it's like, nah, I mean, like I said, I've seen it at the grocery store, so I know it's going on in the gyms. Because I mean, it was this one woman like literally walking in the store. I was like, does she even have one? Because it was the same color complexion of her skin, so it was like this nude set. She knew what she was doing.
Absolutely.
Like, come on. I mean, you in there for a workout looking like that, and then you come to the grocery store where there's kids? Come
Well,
on,
you
man.
know what they'll say, right? You know what they'll say? Well, men need to have better self-control.
Yeah, and that's my point. And that's what makes and that's what bro is getting at, but that makes me uncomfortable. Don't challenge me to do that.
I think that that's a form of gaslighting.
It is 100%. 100%, man. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm no creep. Sometimes I have to just verify. I was like, did I just see what I just saw? You know what I'm saying? And when I see it, I'll look and go, okay, yeah, you doing that. But at the same time, it's like, are we serious? So it's like you know, I don't know, man. It teach their own. To me, I look at these as identifiers. You are just letting me know that you're not somebody I want to deal with. You know, because even if is a situation where I get to know this person and they're cool, but this is how you go to the gym. I can't deal with you if this is how you choose to go to the gym, or if they choose to go anywhere else and it's a type of attire and get up that I don't get down with. And to me, these are identifiers to let me know what could potentially their life be about.
Yeah.
So you come to the gym naked, you're doing other things that are similar, and I just don't have time for that. So asking these women just to have some level of social awareness of what they're causing to men, and because men aren't entitled to feel uncomfortable either. That's another thing. We can't feel uncomfortable, or we have to be the ones gaslighting y'all or something like that. It's like, no, we're entitled, man. You know, we're all equal, ain't we?
That's the point, though. If you feel uncomfortable because they're dressed that way, it's because of your insecurities, or it's because of your insecurities, or your toxicity, your toxic masculinity, your chauvinism, your misogyny, your all of that. Yeah, that's what that's what they'll reply with is that at the end of the day, it just becomes a lose-lose proposition
because they're challenging the patriarchy by doing that, so it makes me uncomfortable.
Hey man, listen, social deconstruction is a real thing, bro. It is a real thing. So I always thought that women were being, well, I already said it before. You know, the fight against the status quo on behalf of women has never been about eliminating female hypersexualization. It's just been about putting the power of that hypersexualization solely in the hands of them to determine their hypersexualization.
Yeah.
So they still want to they still want to be sexualized. They still want men to fantasize over them. They still want that attention of hypersexualization. They still want all of it. They still want to show their body off. They still want to look good. They still want to know that men are looking at them. They still want to know that men find them attractive. They still want to know that men are gazing at them. They just want to be able to maintain control over how it happens. So they don't want it to go away. They just want to be able to control it. So that's what the whole thing is all about, is control. So them being able to go into the gym being overtly sexy like that is them controlling their sexualization. And if you call them out on it, then you're being the toxic one.
I'm trying to control them.
Yeah, you're being the problematic one. There's a guy, man, who's pretty big on social media. I don't know. You've probably seen his videos. His name is Joey Swole.
Yeah,
he makes these videos like you need to do better. And what he's mostly doing is calling out toxic female gym behavior. And every time he calls it out, he's 100% right on the money. They're doing the LeBron thing. Like not all of them, but some of them. They're doing the LeBron thing where they create an environment on purpose in which something is more likely than not to happen. And then when it happens, they showcase it as that's the problem. When really you're the problem because you created the environment in the first place.
Yes, yes.
So, and my whole thing with that is let's have an honest discussion about that. Stop trying to gaslight me into thinking that this doesn't exist. It's clearly in existence. Let's just talk about the pervasiveness of it and how prevalent it is. That's the better, more appropriate conversation that we ought to be having. But it definitely goes down 100%. And look, at this point, I still don't think it's a majority, but I just feel like, you know, when I first started going to the gym a lot, things were much more subtle. It was probably more like 90%, 90-10 split, 90%, you know, women going, not necessarily caring about being sexy. And then you got the 10% who want to make sure that while they're there, they also look sexy. And I feel like now it's probably more of a 70-30, 60-40 split. 60% or 70% women. So it's still the majority who go because they're doing it for functional purposes. But there's that, but now it's amped up. It's increased from 10 to more like 30 or 40% of the women who go to work out and still be functional, but they want to make sure that they are looking sexy in the process. And I don't think it makes me problematic to call that out.
I don't know, you misogynist.
yeah. I really do think that you have the ability to go to the gym wearing something that doesn't show your camel toe. I got faith in you. I got faith in y'all. Y'all can figure it out.
So unnecessary. But hey, man, I'll look if you're trying to show it off. Don't call me a creep about it.
Damn gaslighters.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I see it all the time, man. They do it on purpose. It is, you know, just acknowledge it. Like I said, man, I respect honesty. I would respect the women who say, yeah, I'm doing this on purpose, more than the ones who are doing it on purpose, but make it seem like they're not.
Hey, man. That's the way of the world, bro. So I don't expect no different behavior, man. This will continue, and the gaslighting will continue because let's be honest, bro. What's life for the ones that's not standing on principles? You know, what's life without gaslighting? You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna continue to do it, And there's women out there that stand 10 toes down, that's got integrity and stuff like that. But I'm telling you, man, it's just like how the men, man. It's dying breeds of people that standing on business and got integrity and, you know, willing to be honest with themselves and therefore the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hey, man.
Hey, man, listen, it's the sexual marketplace, man. I'll say one thing. The clip that we played at the top of this video, the guy who was complaining about the chicks being on the leg press and doing a photo shoot and all of that, that's all well and good, bro. And I'm glad that you're unmuting on that. But I really do hope that you're not subscribed to any OnlyFans pages.
Hysterical.
I hope you're not following any Instagram models. I hope you're not commenting on any posts from any of these women on the internet. I hope you're not following any of these chicks, fitness models, Instagram models. I hope you're not liking any of their videos or photos. I hope you're not commenting on any of their content. Because if you are, you're feeding the same machine that is creating the situation for them to go into the gym and do that stuff. So I just hope that you're consistent across the board, man, because if your internet activity is feeding that beast, then you're a part of the problem, even if you choose to unmute and complain about it.
Damn. Well said,
bro. And with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and close things off, man. JV Wins Doggone SS, another fantastic edition of the Conscious Approach stream in the books. Looking forward to getting people's feedback on that NBA draft lottery topic, because that was a good one. But yeah, I am available on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. Check us out on Instagram as well at ConApproach, CONAPPROACH. Check out the TikTok page also at ConApproach. Check us out on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. We are there as well. And until next time, folks, as I always like to say, don't be a group thinker. Have a mind of your own. Think for yourself. And until next time, we appreciate the support. Thank you for supporting our logical brand of content. And we will catch you on the flip side.
And the name is Doggone SS. And you can find me on Instagram at Doggone_SS, on YouTube, DraftKings, TikTok. Hey, man, if it's a social media platform, Doggone_SS is out there. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow, and all that good stuff in there. All right? And as I say on every pod, guys, don't be too hot, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it plug. And don't let anybody get you off your pivot. So until the next time, everyone, we greatly appreciate you for liking, subscribing, consciously leaving comments, and all that good stuff. You already know I got more rings than Robert Ory's, and I ain't have to cheat to do it. So until the next time, everybody, we'll catch y'all on the flip.
Yeah. Hey, shouts out to Dudley and shouts out to Wake and Bake Radio, man. Y'all the real MVPs.
Thank
you for tuning in. We will see you later. Peace.
Hey, man, go Kings, man. Go Shador. Yeah.